Good to go. All right, roll call, please.
All right. Chair O'Donnell.
Here.
Vice Chair Thomas is absent.
Yeah, there's a clarification we need there. So Member Walsh was elected vice chair.
So maybe this is not.
Yep.
All right. Sorry.
Here.
Vice Chair Walsh, here. Member Baston, not here yet. Member Elliott.
Here.
Here. Member Thompson, not here. Member Castro.
Here.
And alternate Dillon.
Here.
Excellent. We have a quorum.
All right. Could we have a report of the posting of the agenda?
Sure thing. The agenda was available for public access here at City Hall on the exterior bulletin board on the west side of the council chamber, as well as in the the planning services counter by 6 p.m. on Wednesday, November 26th.
Thank you. Acceptance of the agenda. The Architecture Review Committee will discuss the order of the agenda and may amend the order. Note abstentions and request consent calendar items to be removed from the consent calendar for discussion. Doesn't look like we have. Do. So is item 1B on the consent calendar?
Yes.
Okay, do we need a motion to accept the agenda?
We do.
All right. Is there anyone wishing to remove anything from the consent calendar for public hearing?
Mr. Chairman, I think I would with respect to.
Okay, so we're gonna pull item 1B, consent calendar for public hearing tonight. Is there a representative here? Okay, great. All right, so we need, all in favor of accepting the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we'll accept the agenda. Okay, public comments at this time has been set aside for members of the public to address the Architecture Review Committee on the consent calendar and other agenda items and items of general interest.
I'm sorry, here now. We had a motion, but we need a second.
Oh, you are absolutely right. We zoomed right past second.
I'll second it.
Great.
Okay. We got a motion and a second and all were in favor.
Thank you.
Skip that, but thank
Okay.
you. At this time, it's been set aside for members of the public to address the Architecture Review Committee on consent calendar and other agenda items and items of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. Although the Architecture Review Committee values your comments pursuant to the Brown Act, it generally cannot take any action on items not listed on the posted agenda. 3 minutes are set aside for each speaker. Are there any members of the audience wishing to address the committee? Seeing none, are there any online?
There are some, but they're on specific agenda items.
Okay, we will,
And then online.
okay, we will hear those at that time. All right, so on the consent calendar, we have approval of the minutes. Have members been looked over the minutes? And are there any questions on the? Nope. Okay, so do we need a motion on the approval of the minutes?
We do.
Okay,
I will so move, Mr. Chairman.
and I'll second. We have motion and a second. Any further discussion? I don't see any. Want to do roll call on that?
Sure. Chair O'Donnell,
Yes.
Vice Chair Walsh,
Yes.
Member Elliott,
Yes.
Member Castro,
Yes.
and alternate Dillon.
Yes.
Okay, item 1B, a request by Zachary Green, 100 Mile House, on behalf of the property owners Signe and James Steiner for a major architectural application to construct a 2,350 square foot single family residence on a 0.1 0.71 acre hillside lot with an administrative minor modification application to allow for a height increase and 10-foot front yard setback on the parcel located on the corner of Kaweah Hills Drive, zone R1A, APN 513-430-024, case number AR 2025-0091 and AMM 2025-0014. And the planner on this is here tonight. May we have a presentation?
Yes. Good evening, Chair and committee members. The project site is located on a hillside lot on Kaweah Hills Drive. The property has street frontage on 3 sides and is adjacent to single-family homes on the north, south, and west. The proposed site plan indicates the single-story, single-family residence, a detached 4-car garage. Let me see. How do I put?
I don't think the highlighter works.
Oh, sorry, the highlighter doesn't work. Okay, so a detached 4-car garage and a single-story detached accessory dwelling unit. The site is challenging due to the unique rock formation near the center. So the areas in pink indicate a slope of 30% or greater, and the areas in white indicate the buildable area on the project site, as well as the green. But the green also indicates that the site has been previously disturbed and is not part of the natural grade. Before you is, the preliminary grading plan and a schematic design of the proposed landscape with desert appropriate vegetation and hardscape. The elevations for the main house are provided above. The house is single story and approximately 10 to 15 feet in height. However, due to the significant grade difference, there are areas of the building that show the home to be around 20 feet in height. So this one actually is a better illustration of where that 20 feet is measured from. Next are the building elevations for the detached garage and accessory dwelling unit. So that's the garage, and that would be the accessory dwelling unit. Both are single story. The following slides show sections for the main house, so you have a better idea of kind of what's going on underneath. There's a crawl space throughout, and mechanical room as well. It's just a different area of the main house, and these are sections of the accessory dwelling unit and the garage on the left. So the project site sits considerably higher than the adjacent property to the north by about 17 feet. The illustration on the top left shows the view from the adjacent neighbor and how building an additional 8 feet higher shouldn't affect that neighbor's view. The reason the house appears taller from this angle is because the applicant has decided not to step the house down to follow the grade of the project site. Regardless, hillside homes are permitted to build up to 30 feet high with the approval of an AMM application. I'd also like to add that there is an existing 8-foot retaining wall on the property. And staff was able to verify that the wall does have permits with the city. However, it will still be a condition of approval from the engineering department that the applicant get that wall inspected to make sure it can hold the weight of the proposed development. Finished floor information was provided for the adjacent properties. The proposed site sits lower than the homes to the west and higher than the homes on the south. So it really shouldn't affect the views for the homes on the west. So the rendering was provided by the applicant with different viewpoints around the project site. Let's see. So for example, the first photo shows the main house from the courtyard, view 2 from the north looking south, and view 3 from the south looking west. view 4 and 5 are from what could be considered the rear of the property, so the center of the property, kind of where the mound is located. And views 9 and 10 show the view from Kaweah Road. I'm sorry, yeah. So you got the ADU at the top and then Kaweah Road at the bottom. And then this is an illustration of the property overall. The colors and materials are harmonious to the surrounding area with a desert appropriate color palette. Overall, based on the findings in section 9404 of the Palm Springs zoning code, staff recommends approval of case number AR 2025-0091 and AMM 2025-0014, subject to the attached conditions of approval. That concludes my presentation. The architect and engineer are available for any questions.
Okay, prior to bringing applicant up, are there any questions of staff?
I have a question just about the what's required for like a landscape portion for this committee, because there's not much there to sink your teeth into to get an understanding of what's being planned. So what are the requirements? Have they met the requirements to come before the commission as far or the committee before?
So the requirements essentially are desert appropriate plantings.
Okay.
Not necessarily anything, and then, I'm sorry, and then you have to be in compliance with like the water ordinance. What section is that? Section 5.8.
So without a plan, other than this schematic, which is a little more concept, there is no proof that they're in compliance with water ordinance. There are no irrigation plans. There's basically no.
No, but that I believe comes during the plan check process. So they have to submit, I believe it's a condition of approval as well, that they have to submit. Give me 1 second. They have to make sure they're in conformance with the water efficient landscaping ordinance. So then they'll submit that at that time and we review that and before it goes to final approval.
So Alex, there are no requirements as to quantity or size of plant material?
Typically, landscape plans show that at this stage, but this one did not.
Yeah, coverage on the site.
It's
Yeah, you
not,
guys can address that when you come up.
yeah, it's not, there's no requirement in the code that says that the site has to be covered. By
Like
a
a
certain
percentage of the site.
No.
But this committee is able to comment and look at the landscape design on the property,
Yes.
correct?
Any other questions of staff? Yes.
I have a few, Mr.
Number one.
Chairman. Alex, help me understand in terms of the setbacks that are being sought as an AMM. There's a 25-foot front yard setback requesting to drop to 10. Isn't there just a limit of 20%? How does that work?
For Hillside, an AMM is an application the applicant can use to get down to a 10-foot setback along the frontage. And because this road wraps around 3 sides of the property, essentially that
So
is
it's
the
only an
frontage.
outside.
So they are allowed to go to decrease the front yard setback to 10 feet in Hillside Homes.
I see. Okay, and then in your presentation, you referenced it, there's a hillside stabilization analysis of how stable it is or not. Is there like a rock fall study that has to be done? And does that come out of engineering or planning?
I'm sorry, are you referring to the slope analysis?
Yes.
Yes. Do you want me to pull it up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are conditions in engineering.
Likely that would fall on engineering to review.
Have they provided conditions?
When I read the engineering conditions, I am a little confused on, is this residential development gonna have a a sanitary sewer system? Is it attaching to the,
It's not, I don't believe any of the homes up here have access to sewer, because of, the difficulty to get it up there, so this one's gonna be on septic.
okay. Yeah, thank you. That's it for now.
Okay, are there any folks online wishing to provide public comment? Anybody in the audience wishing to provide public comment on this matter?
We do have a comment card for item 1B from Leanne Gold.
Ms. Gould, would you like to come up and
Where should,
any of those vacant seats?
okay, thank you. New to this, forgive me, but I wanted to get more knowledgeable and I thought this is the best way to do it.
Okay.
So first of all, I'm really appreciative that I have the opportunity to talk and I'm appreciative of the,
Can you state your name and address, please?
sure, Leanne Gold, 2429 Kaweah Hills Drive. Right.
Neighbor.
Neighbor, I am one of the closest neighbors.
Okay. Are you to the north?
What am I?
You're the northwest.
I'm the northwest.
Northwest, so you're up
Northwest.
above?
Yes.
I am.
Okay.
I'm the one looking down on the property for the most part. I had a couple concerns, but the landscape can wait until it's further from what it looked like in the plans. It looked like they were gonna plant a tree. I don't know exactly where. Alex probably knows better. And the tree's gonna grow and block the view, definitely. So it will have to, but I'm sure the Palm Springs review will see it before I do. I mean, I've seen them work on 2481, which is directly next door, and they made a proposal to put in some, I think it's called Red Star bush or hedge, and it got voted down because it was gonna do the same thing. So I'm sure that will be attended to at the time, since you don't have a full mock-up of it. My main concern is the height. Most of our properties up there are 50s and 60s, single store properties, and we only have maybe one or two that were built in the 80s that somehow got approved, hillside properties. I know you have to be cautious so you don't block anybody's view in any direction. So the extra 2 feet, I feel, will impede my view and probably the neighbor, which is Trina Turk, right next to me. And I think the property itself, I have no problems with them building I'm excited. And it looks like a beautiful mid-century. But that extra 2 feet is, I think, is a problem for me. And that's about it. I mean,
Okay.
I think it's a great property, but that is bothersome.
We'll let the applicant address that when they come up.
Okay,
Thank you for your comments.
thank you.
So no one else, no other public comments? So at this time, I'd like to invite the applicants to make a presentation.
Thanks very much. Before we jump in, actually, just like to address a couple of comments that came up. One on the landscaping, we did actually submit a full planting plan with our submittal package that had quantities and the WLS characteristics of each plant that we're planting.
I'm so sorry, can you introduce yourself?
Oh, sure.
just for the record?
Yeah, sure. Dwayne Smith, the principal of Iron Mountain House. Yep. So there was a planting plan submitted that can be distributed if it wasn't already.
But you know what, actually, it is in their packet.
Okay, yeah. That
L
has
101.
quantities and again, as Alex mentioned, there's no irrigation plan required at this point, so we didn't submit it, but that will be done as part of the final building submittal. And then in terms of landscaping, to address your comment, Leanne, we are trying to be very conscientious of views. And in fact, some of the presentation I think that you've all received in the package have renderings from various perspectives, including from the neighbors up the hill. So from Leanne's house as well as Trina Turk's house. And it's a very low slung house from that perspective, from that upper side of the hillside perspective, both in architecture and in landscape. So the only tree that is being planted that's of any significance would be the D, which is to the left of the entrance, the driveway entrance. And that's a Texas ebony, which stays fairly low. It's a very kind of slow growing, shorter tree. It'll give the applicant a little bit of, or the owner a little bit of security and privacy from the road without closing it off completely. This is such a natural hillside lot that we didn't want to touch the landscape too much. We wanted to keep it feeling very native, as the owner does as well. So we're trying to be very sensitive and plant all native or low water using plants. Hence the use of these shrubs that are all very common around the desert, and trees like Texas ebony, which are very slow growing and low water usage. The only other tree is a Palo Verde, which is to the other side of the entrance, which is out of view of those neighbors' houses. So again, trying to provide a little bit of privacy without blocking it off with a wall of hedges like you see often around Palm Springs. And I don't know if I don't think in your presentation you have, Alex, the views from up above, but if you want to actually share these, this shows that kind of upper level view from the neighboring properties to the west and the northwest.
Where's this photo taken from the property?
From the neighbors' properties, yeah. it's-
2429. And this is from the neighbor that is to the southwest of.
And that shows the building in its place?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. It's all geolocated and at the right elevation. So those are the big things to address the comments that came up so far. Yeah. We've also, if you want to jump in, we've done a sun study because I know there was some discussion and just about the height and about blocking sun from the neighbor to the north. So we did a sun study looking at two different scenarios. If Zach wants to share that, actually.
Yeah, so I'm Zachary Green, I'm the applicant. So I'm gonna show two videos here. And in both of the videos, this first one shows a white massing model of a structure that would go up to the 12-foot height limit. And the second part shows our proposed development. And this one is on the summer solstice when the sun is the highest. And you can see how there's not too much, or really even at all, a difference of how the shadow hits the neighboring roof when it comes to impacting their solar requirements. Now, if we go to the winter solstice when the sun is the lowest in the sky, both a project at the 12-foot height envelope and our development are going to cast a shadow on that roof, but there is a negligible difference between the amount of shadow cast.
Are there solar panels where that shadow is hitting that house?
There are solar panels on the back side of the roof.
Not directly opposite the main mass of the house?
I believe there is there might be a solar hot water heater system on that portion, but I'm not certain exactly what the equipment is.
There is a shot in the packet of that retaining wall with pool equipment in it. That if you look at that, it looks like there are solar panels in that location on the roof of that house,
Yeah.
which is where your shadows are hitting that house.
Right, correct. And the amount of shadow hitting that roof is no different than a structure at that 12-foot height limit.
Which isn't there now, so it is affecting their solar panels.
True.
Right.
True. Yeah.
But we could build without any special approvals in AMM up to the standard height limit at the setback and block just as much as we're blocking with the proposed.
Are there solar panels on this home?
They are going to be on the garage, which is the structure furthest left in this middle image here.
So where the neighbor who spoke previously is looking down at the solar panels on the garage structure?
Yes.
And it looks like there is a black edge to the roof with a white. Main body of the roof is white.
Correct. So
Is that an accurate representation of the roof?
the perimeter of the roof itself is a metal roof structure with projecting edges. And the interior portion of the roof would be just a TPO membrane cool roof.
So on this image, I'm not seeing solar panels.
Correct. Yeah, they're not represented there. The solar panels would be the only mechanical equipment on any of the three roof structures. So there is a mechanical niche within the project. It occurs along the northeast corner. So it's down near the retaining wall that's existing. So that would house the pool equipment and AC equipment as well. but the roofs themselves are free of all equipment except for solar panels on the garage roof.
And on that garage, how much of that roof is covered with solar panel?
We have the opportunity to cover most of it and
So it's a black roof.
potentially, yeah. Allowing for pathway clearances, honestly, but yeah.
Did you guys have further presentation that you'd like to make, or?
I think Alex did a good job of presenting the project and I think your package and our submittal included a lot of great narrative around it.
Okay, so, yeah, Member Castro, I think what we'll do is we'll open it up for questions for the applicant.
Thank you. I just have I had a question. Where will the Cantera stone pavers be used?
So they will be used at the pool deck and at the entry step pads. So they kind of zigzag shaped pathway running from the driveway to the entry door would be the Cantera stone. And then it would also occur on that pool deck elevation, and that pool deck datum does wrap across that eastern elevation as well. So that upper image gives a good representation of that.
Yes, Member Walsh.
Just a couple questions. I would be curious to learn about the evolution of the design with respect to the site, because obviously there are constraints that present themselves, et cetera. And I did read through your material, and it sounds as though you did take a run and tried something that, with respect to the main house, adhered to the change in topography. What happened? This is not that.
So the original design was presented at a pre-submittal conference by a previous architect that we took the project over from. And at that time, it was a 2-story main house.
Yes.
And the motor court elevation, I believe, was only slightly raised in that case. So it was basically a bridge that came down to a mass that was the lower level. And the review that was given in that pre-submittal conference was essentially that that's going to read like a 2-story project. And it was suggested at that time to actually raise the motor court elevation and bury that lower habitable space and consider it a basement to preserve the feeling of a 1-story project viewed from the different aspects that you could view.
Who was in the pre-submittal conference?
So that comment came from Ken Lyon, correctly? I'm not aware of who else was in attendance.
Okay. Alex, were you?
I believe I was, and this was
Quite a
over,
while ago,
oh,
quite a
yeah,
while ago, yeah.
over a year ago.
Over a year ago, but with the same applicant.
No,
Same owner, same homeowner, different architect.
Okay,
It was Robin Abrams at the time.
okay,
And she handed the project over to us. Yeah.
all right.
Couple more questions. The structure to the north that's set significantly below with respect to topography, your section is taking a look at that. Tell me about your thinking.
So when you say structure to the north, are you referring to the adjacent property?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
And I'm sorry, could you clarify your question?
I would like to hear what you think about the difference in height and mitigating, as it looks like you're trying to do, the privacy issue from your proposed structure looking down to that house.
So the privacy of looking from our house into the neighboring house. essentially.
Correct.
Yeah. So there's only one window that occurs along that entire elevation, and there isn't any occupiable public space along the north side of the project.
Of our proposed project.
Of our proposed project. So the only viewpoint that you get of that lower neighbor would occur at a window that's actually in the primary bathroom. So there's 2 privacy concerns there, both inside and outside of it. When it comes to the treatment of dealing with this height differential, there was quite a bit of thought that went into how we treated that north elevation of the project to essentially bring down the scale of what, effectively is a 19-foot delta between the top of roof and grade. And there is no continuous vertical surface along that elevation greater than 9 feet that is of the same material. And we've designed the project to essentially appear to be this floating volume that sits on a plinth. And there's kind of some care that's been taken to treat that relationship as delicately as we could to not draw too much attention to the fact that it is quite a delta. And in addition, we have these stepped retaining walls that will get planting inside, and there's opportunity for planting in front of them as well, to also just help soften that overall elevation change. So it wasn't something that we were unaware of, and it wasn't something that we were trying to hide. It was actually an opportunity that we were trying to address and, both take care for the neighbors and also for the property owner themselves.
Thank you. Any further questions? No.
Just had a question for staff while we're talking about that. Can the neighbor build a two-story home?
No.
No?
No, typically we don't encourage two-story homes in general. On Hillside, they are allowed to step them to the point where they, effectively read as two-story, or they are at some point because of the grade of the site. But to put another story on top of that house, it's not something that we would allow.
You would not allow it?
Well, no, we wouldn't, because we don't allow two-story homes.
So I've got a couple of questions. I'd like you guys to walk us through what decisions were made around the finished floors. As I look at it, I always think, is somebody trying to age in place and therefore have everything more or less on the same height? Park your car, get out of your car, get into the house without navigating steps, but there are a few steps into the main house. It looks like you can get over to the casita relatively on grade, but so the 800-pound gorilla for me is, why a raised foundation and how did you arrive at this?
Sure, yeah. So there's some precedents set by some existing topography that we are trying to build on top of. So by raising the whole elevation of that.
Is there a
main slab.
better image that would help?
So actually there's a dashed line that you can see that says is the natural grade. So there's a dashed line through the structure that's below the, if you can go back actually.
Sorry, yeah.
to it, yeah. So this dashed line is the natural grade on the site at this particular section, and it actually does cut up here. So even by raising our finished floor to this elevation, we still are having to excavate to some degree through the existing topography. If we had to lower this anymore, there'd be a lot more existing boulders and bedrock on the site that we'd be excavating through. So we reached this balance of trying to find a sweet spot where we can have this at a certain elevation that keeps everything generally on one level, while not disturbing the existing grade too much. To lower it much more would require just a massive amount of modifying the existing grade on the site, which we really didn't want to do. And then also stepping this, if we were to step this too much to follow that grade, it does end up being a very challenging house to navigate through. Because it's not a massive house, it's a pretty small footprint. So, a good portion of the footprint would be then taken up with stairs and all that navigation. And we were trying to keep that footprint to a pretty small, to a minimum. And to Zach's point, I think in that effort of trying to keep everything on one plane and minimize that impact, that led to this idea of a floating kind of mass above most of the existing topography as much as possible. Yeah, does that answer?
It starts to. And then if I go east from here, if we had this in the 3D program and we just kept pulling it back,
Right.
at some point we're starting to hit that natural rock outcropping that's on the site.
Exactly, yeah. We were getting very close to it as it is with a very minimal pool that we have on the site and a little bit of hardscape around it, but we're hugging that natural rock outcropping.
What is, when you guys first arrived on the site, it sounds like there's been thought and care. And the one thing that certainly, at this point in a meeting, the one thing that I as an applicant really would appreciate would be, how do you guys generally feel about the architecture? I think the architecture is kind of spot on, right? It's working. Poston being very simple, very low slung, everything's sort of working. But just this kind of odd thing where the foundation gets raised and it exacerbates an issue with the neighbor. And I think we really want to understand that because the site, it's not a pristine site. Everybody and their brother's taking a bulldozer up there and push rocks around, right? So I don't really think of it as if you had to excavate more, an insensitive way of dealing with the existing conditions, because you go back in the lore of the site and, some movie star was moving something around and trying to get, and I think probably everybody in this room has looked at that site with somebody, through the years. So it's a wonderful site. I think the architecture is working from just the idea of this horizontal low slung post and beam, relatively small areas touching the site, whether it's raised slab or slab on grade. It's not a lot of home, so we appreciate that. But I, for one, really want to understand this notion of just bringing the whole thing up. Because one of the things that we observe here in the desert is the fauna will go underground for respite and, kind of a temperate year-round environment. And once you raise up above the ground, you're having to condition, another edge. And so I always look at that as being not a really sympathetic way to deal with the desert. The desert really, you really want to hunker into the desert. This is more of a hot, arid condition where you want ventilation underneath, you want ventilation all around, you want to get up into the breezes. And so, yeah, I would like to know a little bit more about what's driving this. There must be some aesthetic concerns. Is there systems that are benefiting from having the foundation raised and everything's being supplied? And take us through everything so that we have a full picture.
I mean, you're hinting at some of the decisions that we did make. So by having a crawl space under the whole house, we can route our entire mechanical system down there and bring down the depth of our overhangs. So if you look at the neighbor directly to the north, they have a bunch of mechanical equipment run on their roof. So obviously, there are other ways to get around doing that. In this case, we chose a method that allows us the thinnest possible roof plane. Additionally, raising that north portion of the site affords us the opportunity to have a garage that is accessed from the site and not from the street, and also a 4-car garage. So there is, this is only a 2-bedroom, actually it's only a 1-bedroom house, 2-bedroom house with a 4-car garage. So there's going to be no visible cars in the driveway unless guests are over. So that was also another benefit to the strategy. It is a severely impacted site as it is, as you were hinting towards. It's not natural. There is a bunch of cut pads, and it was a bit of a balance to try to negotiate. It's not that we are trying to make this an unnatural site. It wasn't a natural site to begin with. And by raising this northern elevation, in some senses, we are restoring a bit more logic or a bit more appearance to the site that gives it a feeling of it not being as disturbed as it currently is in its state. But
do you have any latitude up or down, or down? Not up.
to essentially step the structure.
No, to push it down into the ground more.
The more we push it down, the more we are doing bedrock excavation right around that prominent
Again,
feature rock. Yeah.
I just go back to this thing's been bastardized.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
It is, I don't know if you've noticed in any of the photographs or when you visited the site, that rock outcropping is
There's a few
very
tenuous
tenuous.
moments there where
Yeah,
there's a chain holding a
there's a
rock
chain holding it
up.
up,
And,
yeah.
yeah.
We are a little concerned about any excavation in that bedrock, any close to that rock outcropping that's going to start to damage that and start to have it fall apart. It's honestly a big concern. Yeah.
Okay.
So in terms of latitude up or down, possibly slightly down. As we go down, obviously the pool deck starts to get really encroached as well, and we lose all of that outdoor area. It's really the only spot on the site where we have any spot for an outdoor water element without it being in very public view. So we wanted to try and kind of keep it hugged into that corner.
Well, I think one of the most beloved houses in the desert is Albert Frey's house with a rock right in the middle of it. So if the rock came down into your pool, I don't think any of us would lose any sleep over it.
Oh, it's not about a rock dropping into the pool. No, it's just about reducing that
I'm
usable
being
outside
facetious.
area. Yeah. We'd love to build up against a rock if we could do it. It's hard to do these days.
All right, I have one void in my head that I don't know if it's been solved because I really couldn't see the screen. But there are some solar panels on the house to the north, and I would really like to see a solar study of what that looks like December, January, February. And are those solar panels being impacted by shadow from this house?
I can bring the iPad closer so you can see. So this is a study on December 21st, winter equinox. There are currently solar panels on this portion of the roof, and I believe there's a radiant solar system along this portion. So this is again showing the two different. This is at the height limit, and this is with the additional.
Why is it going backwards? Why am I seeing afternoon to morning?
So we're facing north here.
Yeah.
That must just be how I had the.
Because the sun's coming up here, right? So I
Right.
would see initially the shadows being cast. Well, maybe they are. Yeah, I guess they
No, yeah, we're sitting in the west.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I do have one in the summertime too that shows the solstice when the sun's high.
are. All right, so the committee's gonna make a motion here. But again, I don't think there's anything architecturally, materials, colors, massing. It's just floor height and how it relates to the house next door. So I'm a little skeptical of whether that solar study really looks at where their panels are. And I know you pointed to them and you're doing the best you can, but I'd hate to have the neighbor come in a year and a half from now when you're done and say, my solar generation went from, meeting net zero over the course of a year to I'm not generating anything in the winter. And so at that point, the recourse would be who knows what at the city level. Maybe the good neighbor policy, they come over to you and go, hey, look, you created this problem. Help me pay to move these things, further over on my roof. I don't know what it is, but I'm trying to avoid that. So can you make this committee feel a little more comfortable that there's some process here that is going to avoid that unfortunate outcome?
I mean, we could certainly have the owner just have a discussion with the neighbor to the north, and maybe they can mutually agree on some condition or some agreement outside of legal conditions.
Tony, what would you recommend in this case? I know California law prohibits that shading of somebody's solar panels, either by tree growth or improvements.
It does. I think one approach could be to add a condition of approval that the applicant return prior to issuance of building permit, applicant returns with some kind of a signed agreement between the property owner and the neighbor that may be impacted, laying out the terms of some kind of agreement if in fact there is an impact. And that could be added as a condition of approval prior to building permit. It could allow the project to move forward and still give some peace of mind that the issue, should it arise, would be dealt with.
Similar to a property line wall kind of agreement or something like that, or a no contest kind of agreement, yeah. I'm sure they'd be amenable to that.
That is an option.
Okay.
Failing that, if there's some additional information or more specific sun study or calculation that would give the committee more comfort, you could hold the item and continue it forward in awaiting that information.
Okay.
And that's, if I may, I do have pictures showing that neighbor's roof a bit more in detail. So this is standing looking towards the east. You can see there's solar array on this side, and this is standing looking towards the west. I believe that is radiant hot water heating.
Mhm.
So if I jump back to our image there, you can see that step.
So their hot water's definitely
I
getting
believe it's
impacted.
hot water, yeah. But our solar, I mean, it's getting impacted by the trees.
It's getting
as well.
impacted by the garage late in the afternoon.
Right.
All right, the committee is going to go into discussion, so thank you for coming up here, and if there's any further questions, we'll have you back up.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, committee discussions. Member Castro, you're looking at me, thoughts?
Overall, I think this is a well-designed home, and I think you've been sensitive to the siting of the three buildings, placing them in areas where it's a building pad area in a previously disturbed property. It's not completely natural, and I think you've done well with that. I think the size is good considering the size of the lot as well. I am not so concerned about the height. I think that what you've designed and from the perspective you've shown on the photograph, there is some impact. I don't believe it's a significant impact on that's very subjective, but I do not think it's a significant impact on views. The materials colors are great. I'm also not so concerned about the impact of the solar panels, given the solar study. I think there will be some impact, but not significant to the extent that it will affect your or other properties significantly. So,
Thank you.
that's it.
Member Dillon, you have any thoughts?
Yes, I do. I actually do have a little bit of concern about the height of the property, given that the floor level of the house adjacent to it and the floor level of the new house, if I was reading the numbers correctly, looks about 20 feet differential between the two of those, which seems pretty significant. So that the house on top of that, and I didn't see what the overall height of the house is, but that differential by itself plus the height of the house
Alice, can you pull that section up?
is a pretty significant difference in the height, given how close they are together.
If I may, it wasn't 20 feet to floor, it was 20 feet from neighbor floor to our roof proposed. So that lower right corner, well, both, just show it. It's 19.
Level finished floor is 612. The neighbor's finished floor is 592. 8 plus 12 is 20.
Correct, yeah, of course. I was thinking finished.
So that relationship between those two structures and that differential in height is pretty significant. And the fact that, you know, a house that's 12 feet tall would also block the view is true because of how close it is to the property line. I'm curious about the width of this section of the house because it's, you know, it's sort of linear T-bones into that house. The width of that section, the overall width of the projection of the roof and the garage to the west, I guess it would be. And then the difference in the height between the garage structure and the house structure, if they're the same height or if there's a difference in those heights.
The garage structure is set about 3 feet below the house finish floor.
Okay.
So it is lower. It's closer to that motor, well, it's at that motor court elevation.
Okay, that's one concern that I have. The other one that I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the thinking behind placing the parking for the ADU at a separate curb cut, sort of downslope from this sort of main entry to the house. One of the things I was wondering about is backing straight out into a blind corner in two directions. Was there thought given to pulling into the drive and creating that ADU parking adjacent to the parking court? And if it was rejected for whatever reason, why you would separate the two of them?
So that lower parking area utilizes an existing recess in the topography. So the thinking there was to, minimize the amount of grading and yeah, not disturb as much as we could. So there is a feathering of the slope coming into that lot,
Okay.
that parking area, and the slope does rise in a way where, you still get a view of the ascending street as you're backing out, but it's all concern.
It's just the double curb cuts that my eyeball is tripping over.
It does also keep the ADU parking, if the ADU was inhabited by somebody else, a tenant, for example, keeps the ADU parking separate from the main house parking.
Right.
So they have two kind of private, like separate entrances, basically.
Just some minor housekeeping thing. The BR2 on the finish board, it's called out, but it's not shown, so I wasn't sure what BR2 is. If you look at the finish board, it's not actually shown.
Would that be on the site plan?
The finish board,
There's a separate finish board.
the building
Interior board.
finishes.
Yeah, it's in there.
That one. So BR2 is listed, but it's not shown, so it's not clear what it is.
Text is, yeah. Oh,
Is it WD2 at the top is actually BR2? Because that looks like a brick, not wood.
The text is all wonky, wow.
Yeah, it is.
I don't think it makes any sense. It's our brick flooring, so it's a,
Is it the second image?
oh, yes, correct. The
Yes.
W2 and the image should be BR2.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a tile flooring.
The other question I had was about the driveway material. It's a wood paver,
It's a black locust wood paver.
okay?
It's a hardwood paver. You have a concern about it, I can tell.
it's similar to any other, it's similar to a cedar, but harder, similar to like an ipe that will weather to a natural gray, but it's a more sustainably harvested wood.
Okay,
It's made by a company called Clay Tile.
Or no, Orca.
Sorry,
Orca.
Orca,
Yeah.
yeah, out of LA.
interesting choice for a driveway.
We wanted a permeable paver, but not a hard concrete or stone. So this allows it to be a bit of a softer material and it'll weather and patina nicely in time. So there is a gap and it's on our landscape material. board,
Yeah,
but
I
there's-
saw that. How thick is this material? Is there,
It's a 4-inch thickness, so it's almost
So
a
it's a
4-inch
block.
cube. Yeah,
Or
yeah,
cobble.
yeah. And then they're set on a compacted sand and then filled between with gravel.
there also isn't mention of the color of the window frames that I could see unless I missed it. Is it just an anodized aluminum frame or is it?
It's the MT1 finish, that swatch, so it's a
Okay, so
bronze.
It's like a bronze finish, okay. Then I think the only other question I had was in the event of some sort of weather event where the water is ponding on the roof, where does it go on the north side of the building?
So we'll have to go to our preliminary grading plan.
Well, no, I'm thinking you have this structure, well, two structures here. If there's water collecting on this roof, which is flat, where is it pitching? Is it going to the patio, the driveway, or to this planting mechanical area behind here?
Or the roof drains?
There's roof drains.
Internal
so
roof drains.
There's two roof drains in that location.
And the overflows are,
The overflows are scuppers, so there is a scupper near the front door, and then there's a scupper down in the face of the eastmost pedestal wall of the house that kind of goes to that lower living area.
And if we went to the grading plan, then those terminate into some kind of detention basin?
The scuppers do not, but the primaries do. They terminate into filtration boxes.
I think those are all my questions.
All right, thank you. Member Elliott?
I found the planting plan, thank you, that was, so, I mean, I no, I don't have any additional comments, thank you.
You see any concern for erosion? You see any concern for?
I mean, it seems to me like, the standard for allowing the natural landscape to be there is, I think in this area is nice, works. I mean, those wood tile, by the way, I'm gonna look into those. Those are pretty cool. I've never seen those before.
Not inexpensive.
Yeah, sure. I mean, if it's not eroding now, then
Well, it's just always the intensification of
yeah,
the impervious area.
yeah.
And, is there concern? Should we inert materials going in, suggestions?
I mean, I think that they're looking at appropriate inorganic ground cover, so I don't see any,
Good deal. I'm not trying to make problems.
yeah.
All right, Member Walsh.
I was intrigued and I'm kind of stuck back there with perhaps a slightly different take on the site and its potential. It's curious, and I would really want to know how that something that sort of looked two-story or whatever was dismissed. This is a dramatic solution that makes the issue of the uneven topography simply go away. But I kind of think it's a shortcut to a missed opportunity. It doesn't necessarily have to be 2 stories. You can do split level or whatever, but that site is so complicated. It sort of calls for some level of elevational interest. That's gone when you take what you would put on a level site and just raise it up. These are things that would haunt me about running forward with this design. I don't know if you had an opportunity or chose to look at that, but I'm almost like craving, like, God, what would that look like? I think it could be kind of interesting. Number one. Number two, there's a huge neighborhood context there. There's a certain level of the site and the rockiness of it dominating, as opposed to these pretty light on the land houses that are there. And so that's where the issue of the height of this comes into play. And it's your graphics are good, Ed, thank you, and I trust their accuracy. I have no problem with them. But there isn't much that ties this into the context that I can really feel of what this would look like and its impact would be on that site. It's a cul-de-sac, isn't it, up there? Yeah. And it would be something to kind of focus on if this were to go for a restudy. The neighboring concern about the height, I would listen to, because I think it could be solved in a heartbeat. That's a 13-foot interior ceiling, I think. No, I'm sorry, I am wrong. What is your interior ceiling in the main house?
It varies between 8 and 9 feet.
8 and 9 feet.
Well, actually,
Bottom
sorry,
of the beam, 8
bottom of beam is 8 feet, so we're up to 9 feet.
9
Yeah.
feet. Why did I see?
I think
Okay,
you're
I
thinking the
misunderstood.
chimney.
Hmm?
You maybe looking towards the chip, there was like a parapet, like a chimney parapet.
Maybe from adjacent
I
grade out
don't
front.
know. Okay, well, I apologize if I misunderstood the drawings, but it seemed as though there was plenty of slack that could be looked upon to kind of give some mitigation to the ceiling height there. Okay, yeah, the lack of tying it to the ground has impact throughout it. And so one of the renderings that you supplied was, I think we're looking, it's number 4, the east elevation, but it's sort of like there's the outdoor seating that, is rather detached from the rest of the house. I can't envision people sort of trotting down there with their coffee, but maybe they would. But it just seems very detached. Anyway, those are my thoughts and my concerns. I think you've exhibited a lot of work and a lot of sweat on a site that is not easy. So I certainly support your efforts in it. I just question some of the forks in the road that you have taken here? And if it was the best decision, and does it need to be relooked at? Thank you.
Thank you, Member Walsh. Yeah, I think the committee's given this good consideration. We've identified concerns, and they, revolve completely around the finished floor height. It's not the architecture, it's where this thing's sitting on the land. And so, like Member Walsh, I'm curious to understand what this would look like if you had an opportunity or you were forced into an opportunity to look at what would be not the ideal medium that you struck, but what would be the relationship to the site if it were pushed down another 12 inches, 18 inches, 24 inches? What would that do to the relationship of not only the views from up above, which, there's, I think your illustrations show it well. There's ridge lines that don't get blocked. One sees over, maybe the upper neighbors don't see the homes immediately down below anymore, but there is a well-known statement that you don't own the view until you own the view, right? And we adhere to that. So as long as it's done sensitively, this appears that other than selection of where that finished floor on the main portion of the house is landing, it is very well done. So I would entertain a motion.
I will make a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
To send this for restudy,
Specifically?
looking at. I would certainly want to see a massing diagram or something that would indicate the potential of a split level or something that would adhere to the existing grade that is there. Do we want to add to that?
Well, we've got conditions of the solar panels and the
Right.
solar thermal next door.
So a study of the impact of the building massing as proposed on the neighbor to the north existing solar panel performance. Do we have anything on landscape that we want to see further?
Doesn't sound like it.
No, I think the landscape is good. I mean, I think the bigger issue is the height.
Okay, I'm gonna second that. And just for clarification, ask the applicant to have a conversation with the neighbor as well. So once you resolve where your final heights are, have a conversation with the neighbor and say, these are the impacts. And then when we do see you guys, well, if this motion and second pass, if we do see you guys again, then we'd like a reporting of that. All right, so we got a motion, we got a second. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Chair O'Donnell,
Yes.
Vice Chair Walsh.
Aye.
Member Elliott,
Yes.
Member Castro.
No.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 4-1. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item new business. Item 3A, request by staff for direction from the Architectural Review Committee regarding 2 freestanding LED signs for the Plaza Theater located at 128 South Palm Canyon Drive, Zone CBD, case SPN 2025-0053. And we have a report.
Yes, so we have the Plaza Theater, that is highlighted in yellow. And they're proposing 2 freestanding signs, LED, right where you see 1A and 1B. So the Plaza Theater's pushed in, and these signs would be closer towards South Palm Canyon Drive. And they would replace, I think, there was 2 previous freestanding signs that were there that, have deteriorated over time. So these would be replacing those. And they'd be designed in a fashion that would resemble the new look of the Plaza Theater. So they'd have that little curved edge on the top and just refreshed color. And that concludes my report.
Thank you.
Yes.
Who is the applicant for this?
Best Signs, but I believe he's also available to speak. But the city is the applicant.
The city is the applicant.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any questions of staff?
I do. I see one will have an LED component. It's a screen, right? And the other is not, right? Is it just a static, is it like a cabinet sign? The other one? Just to be clear, because I didn't see any imagery of a signage of it. It seems to be just the frame of it.
Right.
Is that correct?
I was actually under the impression that they'd both be LED signs.
They're both LED
Yes.
signs? Just one smaller and one really large?
I believe they're both the same size as
Same
well.
size,
Yeah.
okay.
Yes,
Yes, from that perspective view, they do look like.
they
they're
do,
doing
yes.
something
Now
good.
that I'm
Yeah,
looking
okay,
at it.
yes, all
But no,
right.
they are the 2 of the same.
All right. I didn't know if they were, yeah, okay. That's
Any other questions?
Yes, when you talk about that there are existing freestanding signs, are they freestanding in the sense that they look like they're attached to the ground? Were those actually attached to the building, to the ground? Were they signs that you could pick up and move around?
They were not portable, but I don't actually have a photo of what they look like
Okay.
before
I was kind of wondering if they were
So,
sort of tented.
The 2 signs were both ground mounted. And whereas the locations they're proposing, these 2 signs were basically flank either side of the courtyard entrance. One is the one that would be to the right as you walk in is roughly where the poster case sign historically has been. The second one is actually historically was also on the right, but set further back. They're proposing to replace that and
Pull it forward.
pull it forward. So it's kind of a sign sentinels, I guess.
My other question is, when we talk about LED signs, are these moving signs or is this a backlit sign?
I believe they're backlit signs. They shouldn't be animated.
They are video screens, but it is well within, there's a specific prohibition on animated and moving signs in the city code. And it is definitely not staff's intention to allow for a video animated sign.
Yeah, it wasn't clear
It
from
would
this
be
whether they were.
kind of LEDs that I guess theoretically would have that capability. But they would be conditioned with specific dwell time. So, the image may not change more than once every.
Certain amount of seconds.
So it's a poster box, but it's modern technology.
Yeah, it's a digital poster
It's a
box.
static image
Yes.
that can be changed.
Yes. So
Okay,
the image will rotate potentially. So, it's 10 seconds, it's Cynthia Erivo tonight, and then
right.
10 seconds later, it's Lily Tomlin tomorrow.
Okay. And then my last question for now is, how do these relate in size to what's there now?
I believe they were the same size, correct?
Uh,
If not,
The exterior dimension of the cases and the kind of frames around them are approximately the same size, but I will say though is that because the poster cases that are there were there historically, the transparent and viewable area inset to the inside of the case is actually smaller. So with this setup, they are able to basically go edge to edge, whereas before they'd have like, hinges and places to mount the posters. So the image will be slightly larger, but the overall panel size, exterior to exterior, should be about the same.
And the wiring for this would be in the ground?
Correct. It'll be in the ground and then come up through one of the legs.
So are you having to replace the concrete that's underneath these guys?
Yeah, yes. I'll be honest, I'm not certain. That's a,
Yeah.
yeah, we didn't have to, there would be electrical out to at least the one side as they were illuminated previously. On the left side where they're moving the one to, there wouldn't have been electrical into the ground, so they'll probably have to at least go into conduit over.
Member Walsh.
Right now.
They probably already did that.
How many, okay, this is a proposal to put 2 new signs there. Right, sir. And how many signs are there now?
Freestanding signs?
Yes.
Just in general.
On the entire Plaza Theater site?
There's,
Okay, so there are the 2 signs on the roof that are neon or neon-like technology. There's the marquee sign that says Plaza Theater. There is the monument sign in the sidewalk, which is double-faced and it's gonna sit out in the sidewalk. So it'll be, it depends if you count the ones on the roof as 1 or 2. So let's call it 2. So it's 2 on the roof, the marquee, the illuminated box on top of Brandini Coffee, so that's 4, and the monument, the sidewalk would be 5. This would be 6 and 7.
Okay, and how many are allowed by the sign ordinance?
Fewer,
2?
significantly fewer.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And the reason for these added
Yeah.
signs is?
because we can.
Because to support and promote the city's investment in the Plaza Theater and to make sure that it's.
And how do we overcome the slippery slope of every other business saying, you guys got something we can't have?
Is planning concerned about a precedent?
To some degree, yes. There is a section in our ordinance that speaks to special permits. And the director is allowed to grant a special permit for signs pertaining to upcoming events for the general public interest. And that is how this is being.
I understand. It just, it may look that those decisions are made in a caprice way. That's my concern. So I voiced that. The second thing is, if one were to sort of pare it down and put a sign in the most potent position, I think I would kind of take a look at flow of traffic. And that's the one that really would be of more paramount importance than, how many do we have?
That's a few.
Okay.
A number, so,
I feel like Scrooge here, I'm sorry.
Oh, no,
This
no.
is like, you gotta, this is, I don't wanna say excessive, but why, yeah.
I think the only thing that I would say is that historically, there have been the same number of signs on the site. This is the relocation and adaptive contemporization of poster cases which have historically been on the site. So yes, 7's a lot of signs, and there have historically been 7 signs on the site.
Is there something in the ordinance that allows another business owner in town with, I'm gonna choose a number, 7 existing signs to continue to use 7 existing signs and modernize their technology on their signs? Or do they get into having to go back and now that they're asking for something, bringing it up to current code?
Likely that. The pathway that is being contemplated for this is the director's ability to authorize signs that are advertising events of public interest, which we would interpret the things at the Plaza Theater as a city facility to be and something somewhat distinct from, say, a drive-through restaurant or.
Is there a pathway for our hypothetical 7-sign historic business owner to come before this body and do exactly what we're doing right now? And have us approve 7
Yeah.
signs?
I mean, in that case, they would be coming in to request either a new sign program or an amended sign program. And to amend or create a new sign program that is in excess of the underlying kind of standards that are, they would have to meet variance standards. So there'd be a higher
So in short,
threshold.
there's no way.
There's a much higher there's a higher threshold. I don't want to say there's no way because that's not.
Is there an applicant or somebody wishing to address? Okay.
Are all of the signs currently permitted? The ones that are being replaced, are those permitted through a special?
All the signs that are there on site have been placed there with a permit at some point in history.
So there is the applicant for this is available on Zoom.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know that that's gonna help. I think that we identify what the issue is here.
I have a
Yes.
thought, a question. So I really do like that the city has and doesn't encourage, animated signs. And to the extent this is an LED sign that has the ability to do it, I like that we would have conditions that it would not change, we would change every 10 seconds. What I would go further to say is, I don't know how we would put it in condition, but I don't want when the sign changes to have tricks. Like when you see signs change, they either move in place or
Oh,
they slide in
Got
place.
it, yeah.
Or
So
there's
it's
some
just like
super
the
graphic
image
that comes
changes.
in.
It's not like,
No, I want it to be a slow fade
okay,
into the next image.
I see.
And I mean that because I've seen signs that do that, and it's very troubling on the eye.
Well, I mean, so you are advocating for a smooth transition rather than a sudden, like,
Right. And
Like,
no
or
trips.
some kind of, a curtain drops across it or.
Yeah.
the top of the art
None
here
of those-
bounces. That would be animation.
Yeah, those special effects things, no.
Best laid plans.
Because then it really
That's a
changes.
simple
But you go to the McCallum Theater, they have these signs that are evident all over the theater. I really think because there's a special niche as a special event and for upcoming events, I think I don't think it sets a precedent. I think the site kind of lends itself to have this type of sign.
Okay, last item for me. Alex, I saw or read or there's some information about hours when this thing would be going. So it shuts off at a certain time at night,
Yes.
but it will have sufficient illumination to be visible during the day.
Yes.
And does it naturally dim itself in the evening?
I'm not aware that it dims. I think we wanted to put in the
Can we
condition.
ask the person who's online if this dims? Because the brightness that's required to see this during the day is gonna have cars, crashing into parked cars. because of brightness.
Hello,
John.
John, go ahead and speak.
this is Jim with Best Signs, but I think that the manufacturer is also on the line, if I'm not mistaken, Don.
Dawn.
I've every message center that we've ever installed can be set so that it because you do want it to dim naturally and you do want it to brighten during daylight hours just for maximum visibility. So Alex, do you have Dawn in the audience?
Yes. We'll pull him up right now.
Okay.
Hi, Dawn.
Hi, everybody. My name's Don Ellis with Metropolitan Interactive. We work with OVG Group on quite a few projects, and they asked us to to work with them on this one. And what Jim said is correct. These signs will be controlled by players that can be programmed to change brightness, native brightness based on the time of day or, you know, daylight. Excuse me, I'm having a little bit of a brain, but yes, they can be programmed. They will brighten up during the day and they can dim down to some level at night. And then they'll turn themselves off at 11 and turn themselves back on at 7 or 8 or whatever. I think it was 11 to 7 is they have to be turned off. I saw in the conditions. So that they can be set for any time of day to do that. And they are LED. They can display full video, but it's, you know, they can also just display static images and the graphics can be built in such a way that that it's not a jarring transition from one image to the next, but more of a smooth transition.
Okay, Don, thank you. All right, we've got one more item after this, so,
I have one quick question.
yeah.
The monument sign that's out in front of the theater, is that a historic signage piece? Or is that something that,
It is long existing, but I don't think it is specifically historic.
is there a possibility that that could be replaced with one double-sided video screen?
What
Remove
would,
the two and just replace one with one?
so the one, you're asking with the one on the side, like in the sidewalk right away?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if it's actually part on the property or if there's some.
It is off property. It's in the public right of way. It could in the future be replaced, or at least the area within the poster where the poster casement is could potentially be replaced with a similar technology.
Instead of, not in addition to, though. That was sort of my question.
Got it. Well, I think that is theoretically possible in the future, but not the application, which is where the
Right.
proposal, which is before you.
Okay.
Okay, looks like we need a motion here. We, you know, just teeing it up, looks like we have some precedent issues here. We also are balancing that with public good because it's a city project that benefits all residents of the city. But it does have a lot of signs. So is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, it just seems like we have some outstanding questions that need to get answered. I don't know what that means in terms of moving forward.
Well, let's identify the questions and then if it's a restudy, we'll bring those answers back to us. I think the good thing that we're doing is we're hearing this thing publicly that otherwise the city could, all residents of the city could walk by and go, how did they get that? We didn't.
Yeah.
And if we can answer that tonight, then, or if that just gets brought up in the public discourse, then we've done our job.
I'm also just kind of bothered by the fact that they just look stuck down. There's no.
Arbitrarily.
Yeah, there's no sensitivity to their placement. There's no detail. It feels like a little bit of a missed opportunity there.
You think it like it needs like some type of base that's.
I mean, just something that
Mhm.
gives it reason why it is where it is.
Mhm.
Right? Otherwise, it's just very arbitrary and it could be, you know, installed any old way. Like it ought to look like that's where it belongs, you know, instead of it just stuck down.
So it could go one of two directions. It could be more informal sandwich board looking thing, but it's there.
Yeah.
Looks like it could be moved, but it doesn't move, or a more permanent solution that makes it feel like it's site specific.
Yeah.
Member Walsh.
I think I would like to make a motion for restudy with specific focus on sign attachment and lack of relationship to its support. Working for you?
Yes.
Okay. Number two, clarity on the risk of an unwanted precedent. And that needs to be answered. And I had something else. Prioritization, if there's a challenge in terms of one sign too many, I believe that there could be an analysis of which is the most important position to put this sign in, these signs in, this sign in. Anything else?
I think that's it. So we got a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
We got a motion and a second by Member Elliott. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I think we need to roll call that, actually.
Okay, we're gonna roll call this then.
Yeah. All right, Chair O'Donnell,
Yes.
Vice Chair Thomas. Sorry, Walsh.
Oh, me.
Yes,
Yeah.
you, sorry. The actual vice chair, not the one that's on this misprinted agenda. Member Elliott,
Yes.
Member Castro,
No.
Alternate Hill.
Yes.
Okay, passes 4-1. We have consistency tonight. All right, item 3B. A request by Toll Brothers, Inc. for a major architectural application for the approval of 119 new single-family residential units in planning areas 5A and 5-7 within the Ascena development located at 1000 North Gene Autry Trail, Zone PDD 231, case PDD 2025-0002/5 .0666 PD 231. Mr. Malaker.
Thank you, Chair. So this project is within the Ascena development. The ARC has spent lots of time looking at different houses in the Ascena development. And this request is for a final PD. It is for planning areas 5A and 7A. And they're requesting 4 different floor plans. 2 of them are 1 story and 2 of them are 2 stories. Each of them has a different name: the Dorian, the Judd, the Mare, and the Vincent. Plans 1, 2, 3, and 4. So with a combination of all of these different floor plans and elevations, there could be a possible of 12 different house types. They are asking for 3 architectural styles: international, modernistic, and mid-century. In your packet, I included the design guidelines of the Ascena development, which is the very end of the packet. Keep in mind that the Ascena design guidelines were done in 2003 and 4, so they are 20 years old, and they're not very detailed. They just sort of give you some generalities as to what the different styles, how they can look and what they're supposed to be material-wise. So there's a table that was given to everyone in the packet showing the different sizes, which are all are 3 bedrooms and different bathrooms, and then the height of each of the proposed elevations. The scope of today's review is building design, color, materials, landscaping, and lighting. The Planning Commission on September 9th reviewed the proposal for final development plan and 2 track maps for these 2 planning areas. They approved the project, but they recommended a few things. One is that a subcommittee be formed consisting of 3 Planning Commission members, 2 ARC members, and that includes a member Elliott and a member O'Donnell. Both sat on that subcommittee. The committee met in October, end of October, and provided information, and we'll go over that in just a second. So part of the other planning commission discussion was that they provide a streetscape. The planning commission was interested in how it all would look. Images on all four sides, of the proposed homes, solar control over windows, landscape plans to include 2 trees per lot, lighting, irrigation plans. There was a wall on some of the common area lots. There are 9 lots within the SENA development that are common lots in this section. And then also the landscaping along Geometry Trail. Geometry Trail, the landscaping there was done when the development was built, so it's 20-some years old. So there's some mature landscaping there that is outgrown. There's other shrubs and other kind of ground materials that we'll go over in a second. And that the applicant address HOA concerns. So in your packet, there's a letter from the HOA that was provided by the president of the HOA. I think he's here tonight. He's back there. They will speak to you in a little bit, but the letter that's in the packet supports the proposal that's before you tonight. The Planning Commission asked that the mid-century elevation be adjusted to better capture the intended style. So I have a whole lot of slides that I will go through. A lot of them, they're mainly here for reference points. So whenever we get to questions and answers, we can flip back to them if you have a special concern about the Judd, the Mayor, or the Vincent. So in the SENA development, the PA5 is 83 lots. The building to the north is the Desert Sun building, and at the very bottom, actually no, this is the northern section. That is a warehouse that's under construction right now. It's along Tachiba Drive. And then there's another warehouse building that is behind mini storage, which is behind this is shown. This is the lot that is along PA7 is along Geometry Trail, which is to the left, and the airport beyond that. And then the SENA development is to the east or the right. And at the very bottom is the main entrance. You'll see the little circle. That's the main entrance into a SENA. Streetscape is provided showing the different house types and 2- and 1-story buildings. There are floor plans that are provided in the packet, and there are hard copies that were given to the ARC for review. This is the 2nd story of the Mayor and the Vincent. So there is a pop-up where there's a bedroom and a loft and a restroom, bathroom. Going through each one of these, this is the Dorian 1-story. There are 4 types, the 1A, 1B, 1C, and 1A, and the different types, building elevation styles, which is the international, the mid-century, contemporary, and an alternate. So the contemporary is the style that the Planning Commission wanted to be relooked at. In your packet, there's a letter from the applicant that describes the changes that were made from the Planning Commission to your presentation tonight. This is a 3D rendering of what the houses will look like. So each of these houses has a 20-foot setback for the driveway, and then the front bedroom pops out on all of them. So some of them have a front entry and some of them have a side entry, and we'll go through each of these. So these are the different styles, the modernistic, the mid-century. You'll notice the roof lines are a little bit shed roofs with windows, and the stone or block on the front is different than what the Planning Commission looked at. This was a change. And then the sides of the roof, the sides of the buildings. So these are, the one side is a 0 lot line. So the house sits on the property line, and there's a 10-foot setback from the property line to the next house. So the applicant had worked on adding solar control over the windows, recessing some windows. In some instances, they pulled around the materials from the front of the house to the side. This is the top left is showing how that wraps around to provide interest on the side of the house, the left side of the house. The mid-century portion has the pitched roof. The Judd, which is another one-story, these are the types of designs for those. The international, modern, mid-century. And elevation, this has a side entrance. So each of the garage doors will be different. As you can see in this elevation. And this is mid-century. I have for each of the different styles, I have included the sides. So if we want to refer back to these, we can, but I'll go through them. You can see the rooftop is different. And then the shed roof for the mid-century. The Mare is the two-story, which the two-story is set back from the front, so it's not exactly at the front of the house. This shows a cross-section of how the building heights are for this section, and the applicant will discuss the need for the height. The Mare. And then the three plans for the different color schemes. And then the last one is the Vincent, which is the two-story with the pitched roof. So the international, mid-century is the pitched roof, and then the contemporaries. And also we have a cross-section to show the height. And then this is the entrances are on the side for each of these different house types. There are 9 color schemes. They are better depicted on the paper versus in these, but you'll see that the doors are different colors, adding a little pop of color should the buyer pick. Moving on to landscaping. There was a lot of discussion of the landscaping along Geometry Trail. The landscape architect is here from TDK, and they can discuss each of these elements. The interior 9 lettered lots are the ones that are on the interior of Vicina. And we have, here's a picture of what it looks like now. As I mentioned, there are some mature landscaping and then other portions of it that are overgrown and just need refreshed. I would like to point out that there is an area that's between the curb and the sidewalk that is not owned by Ascena. That's the public right-of-way, but they are agreeing to also plant that area.
And maintain?
And maintain. So within the development, there are, this is a continuation of Geometry Trail. It's a closer look. So there are tree grouping and clusters, there's vines, rocks and boulders, and other elements, keeping the existing mature vegetation, and the landscape architect will be able to describe what's staying and what is going to be removed. There's blow sand, if you look on the very far left, remove blow sand, which has occurred over the years, and they're agreeing to remove that. Another part of Geometry Trail. And then the internal lots, they are including areas that are turf, some benches, there are dog parks, and so forth that are within the internal portions that the residents will only use. And this is showing some lighting plans also. Here we go. The HOA has reviewed these landscape plans and are agreeing that they will end up maintaining them once the development is completed. And looking at the front elevations and the landscaping for each of these houses, this shows the 2 tree per lot. In the subcommittee, there was some discussion about, is that the best way to do landscaping? And I'm sure our subcommittee members will describe that. And then materials for the hardscape. The lighting is a series of bollards and uplights. So after the review of the subcommittee, this is the outcome of that discussions. staff has determined that it substantially conforms to the 2003 design guidelines, and the project is here before you tonight.
Can you let us know what meeting this is and the sequence of meetings, and if we were to restudy this, are we getting ourselves into the maximum number of public reviews that the city's allowed in California?
There are 5 total, and you are allowed to review this once and another time.
Because planning commission is seeing it as well?
They will not see it again unless it's appealed.
Okay, so we are at meeting 3 right
3.
now. Does everybody understand that?
I have a refinement question on
Okay.
this. So this, what we are reviewing now is the first of 2 potential times to see it. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. You want to start with the architecture and then move to landscaping, or how would you like to attack this?
No, I think, is anybody in the public wishing to speak on this item?
We do have a card from Rich Gordon.
Okay. Please come on up. Thank you. State your name and address, please.
Thank you. My name is Rich Gordon. I live at 1143 Celadon Street in Palm Springs. And I'm currently serving as president of the Ascena Community Association, which is the HOA for Ascena. And I'm here tonight to let you know that we raised concerns earlier during the process, particularly around the landscaping, infrastructure issues that for the common areas that we will eventually assume responsibility for. And I have to tell you that every single one of the concerns that we had, Toll Brothers has addressed. So the landscaping, particularly major concerns about Gene Autry. They've addressed all of those. We talked with them about some of the internal spaces that will be used by residents for dog activity or just general walking or just community enjoyment. They met all of our concerns for those areas. So we are fully in support of what they have proposed. And we think that they will be a good addition to our community, and look forward to having these homes constructed and folks moving in to join us in Ascena.
All right.
So, thank you very much.
Appreciate your time and comments.
Thank you.
Would the applicant like to come up and make a presentation?
If I may invite my architect and landscape architect. and
Absolutely.
they'll be able to
You just
provide
be,
more-
yeah, we have plenty of chairs.
Awesome. They will be able to answer more specific questions.
Just please introduce yourselves as you.
Hi, my name is Leah Mogay. I'm a project manager and the applicant for Toll Brothers.
Tom Dosey, TKD Landscape Architects, Rancho Mirage.
Bill Hesmelholtz, Irvine, California.
Architect?
Architect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, who wants to kick it off?
I can from a more general standpoint. So yeah,
Please.
like Glenn was saying, we have had the opportunity to meet with a certain number of members from this committee as well. And we really have taken the time to take all of the comments into consideration. Our landscape architect really worked on all the comments and being able to balance the requests that were made by the committees as well as the HOA. And we're here to present that, and he will be able to walk you through step by step what changed since we last met and how he was able to meet all of those comments. From an architectural standpoint, you might have seen that we did provide an alternate to our contemporary elevation. That was to satisfy one of the planning commissioner's comments that they were interested in looking at another option. So we wanted to present that to you tonight as well. Our main focus from our original submittal to now is really this mid-century. We really wanted to be able to provide a design that was aligning more with the original design guidelines, and as well as looking at some of the additional comments that came along those meetings. Yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents on this from the broader picture.
Okay. Glenn, do we have an image of those changes, or do we have to look at their screens?
I don't have a comparison of what the planning commission saw and what the subcommittee saw to now. There is a narrative description in the packet that is not very long. If the project architect or Leah wants to go over them, they are behind the planning commission resolution and the minutes. There's a one-page. No, I'm sorry. There's this page from WHA. So revisions include shading elements to the windows. They changed the color blocking, added alternate parapet design to the modernistic elevation. All plans for
I'm gonna
mid-century.
interrupt you.
You're gonna,
I'm sorry. I was dyslexic as a kid and highly visual. So you reading those things off.
yeah, I know, that's what I was getting at. Is that what,
Yeah,
that's
but I
not where we're
appreciate it.
going.
Would you like to see,
Do we have the ability to stream something?
I don't know that we have the ability to stream something. If the images you have were on a thumb drive, we might be able to get them over to
Is there printouts? Do you guys have printouts of the changes?
I unfortunately don't have the
I
older
did not bring
set.
the old ones. I could describe them.
Yeah, again, I'm gonna
presentations at your-
roll my eyes.
Can you join the Zoom
Um,
meeting and then share
Yes,
screen?
that's what I was thinking about.
Do you have comparison images on your laptop there?
I can pull up the.
We can
previous
lend you a thumb drive and then transfer them over to this one.
Oh, perfect. So the changes that were mentioned were in response to the subcommittee meeting when you guys showed up? Okay.
That is correct, yes. Thank you.
Mr. Dosey, are yours easy to explain?
I think mine are easy to explain.
Okay, let's
So,
jump to landscape while we're
Okay.
working on that.
so I'm just was trying to remember when we started the project, maybe about 9 months or a year ago, but initially, before we started our design phase of the project, we did meet with the HOA. We've done other successful, build outs in the Ascena. So this is, I think, probably the third portion of the project we've had. And during those initial meetings, going through the HOA, there were certain discussion about plant materials, what they liked, what they may not want to see, things they've tried that didn't work. So we kind of narrowed down our plant list. We prepared the preliminary plans, and then upon review of that, some of the areas that we've shown in the open space areas that now have turf in them, those were originally desert areas, but they wanted to make those spaces more usable. So that's why we introduced the turf. There are a number of dog parks within the development, but these particular open space areas will serve the residents that live within that street area and portion of the development project. We then went to Planning Commission. We had some additional comments that came out of the Planning Commission. At that point, they approved, the open space areas that were added. There was some suggestion for some additional varieties of trees. We addressed those items. And then during our subcommittee meeting, there was some recommendations from the landscape architect, particularly along Gene Autry. So Gene Autry was an area, again, as was mentioned by Glenn, the parcel does not really go to the back of the curb, but we went ahead and addressed those areas. And I can go through, I can just start with and then we also did some work on the typical residential units. So as a culmination between the HOA and the subcommittee, on the typical residential units, we revised the plan 2 areas to include some foundation plantings. There was a recommendation to have some foundation plantings in there. Plan 3 was revised to include a California fan palm to mitigate the height that may occur on the different units that have the 2-story element to it. We were still able to maintain the 2 trees per lot as requested by the HOA. And then instead of, there was some discussion about having more massing of plantings. So on the Plan 4 and on the Plan 2, again, we created more of a ground cover massing of plant materials versus boulder and some accent planting. And then in the common area, I think Glenn already went over, we included walkways, the turf areas, dog stations. In this particular Lot H, from the subcommittee, there was some recommendations to maybe create a frame for that space along the wall. So we've added additional shrubs within that area. The HOA had asked us not to use grasses specifically. So we've substituted some shrub materials for that, but we kind of created a frame for that area and then introduced some different types of trees that'll give some fall color. The pistachia trees particularly, as requested by the HOA. And then Gene Autry, pretty much Gene Autry was almost a complete redo. I think we saw from the pictures, there are some existing trees out there. The ones that we identified, you can see in this particular picture on the bottom, we took a whole look at it. So you'll see some olive trees and they're kind of misplaced. So we looked at the design of the wall and we took the architecture of the wall and worked with that. And you can see where there's the pop outs of the stacked block. And then we have more of the split faced, that goes down in the other areas. So where the wall recedes, that's where we've now created groupings of trees. And during our subcommittee meeting, there was, recommendation to let's simplify the plant palette, let's simplify the design. So in the top picture, we've kind of outlined it as, tree grouping type 1 and then tree grouping type 2. So we wanted to work with some of the existing olive trees that were still in pretty good shape, add to those. And so we've created these clusters of 6. And then where the walls pop out, we're taking advantage of that change in materials. And that's where we're accenting the vines along those pop outs. And then that would have accent lighting there as well as the trees. And then we move to the next grouping of trees, which are the Texas ebony. So the goal was to create this contrast between the gray-green foliage of the olive trees to more of a darker evergreen foliage of the Texas ebony trees. So you can see how the patterns repeat along there. There were some existing red yuccas, and some of the plant material was just in bad condition because of the irrigation system had failed and not been maintained. So in lieu of the grasses, we added additional hesperallos or red yuccas to those groupings. And you can see that we've created a pattern out of those groupings as well. And then we left some breaks in the landscaping just so that the groupings would read more as you're traveling by or walking down the sidewalk. And then that's where we would work with the existing Arizona rock pebbles there and then enhance those. And some of them just, again, there was low sand that went in there. So those will be excavated out, reset, and then additional so that we can, again, have the pattern of the rock that continues along there. One of the other shrubs that we introduced along the Gene Autry frontage was the little ollie as a bush type material and create some massings of that. And then also some of the green carpet natal plum, which was successfully used within the inside of the project. So they'll see that on the street frontage now, and then also see it as you enter in through the gate into the interior of the project. We've added landscape lighting. We've created a irrigation plan. There's existing meters out there. So once construction begins, we can get into, some of the, there was a request to change out the emitters to a specific type that HOA likes to use, and also the certain type of valves. And we've indicated that as well on our plans. and then new rock and dirt material that would go from the wall to the curb. So it's a refreshing, it's a removal of a lot of the rosemary that's overgrown. But again, trying to, if there's a couple good basic trees, we'll build on that.
Tom, what do you see as the biggest challenge to keeping this consistent and looking like you have it planned?
I think, well, it hasn't been maintained, the conditions out there with the wind are a challenge. I believe the materials that we've selected now will respond better to the wind. Some of the acacia trees that you can see in some of the photos that have gotten taller, there's actually some that have blown over. The olive trees have been successful out there, again, with not consistent irrigation, but I think once we get a strong irrigation system in place and again, not try to cover everything with plant material. I think having the massings and groupings and then a break in between allows for the design to read better than it does as you see in these pictures. Because I think many of the materials were just added in. If something failed, they put in another plant to substitute for that. So at least this way we have distinct groupings. We've simplified the plant palette and tree palette. The palm trees will stay. And I think with the rock material, using a larger size rock rather than like DG or something along the street frontage will help for the conditions out there as well.
How does this new stretch relate to the existing, the other stretches that you're not touching here? I mean, as far as plant materials go.
In the tree forms, it relates, so you're speaking of the areas that are south of the entrance area. That area needs some attention as well. It was out of our scope. I think the materials that we are using with the Hesperaloes, all of those relate. There's actually a lake along the southern area there that there's been some talk about through maintenance, maybe opening up some of the views in there. But a lot of what we're doing here could easily be adapted to that southern area. It needs a good cleanup.
Yeah. But the feeling of continuity, I think, is important along the entire frontage. So it reads as one project that is recognizable from Gene Autry when you're going by at 50 miles an hour.
Yeah, and I'm certain that we could talk with the HO or maybe Mr. Gordon might have some comments on that area.
How are you, do you have a plan? Because I was looking for it and I couldn't really find it, but where you are identifying existing material to remain and mature shrubs. Are you keeping any mature shrubs that are there?
There's a few bougainvilleas. In our original submittal, we did have a plan that called out what was existing and what was going to be removed. And we actually used a different color for it. On this presentation, we wanted the graphics to read so that the masses of the plant materials. It's going to be a field involved project where we go out and actually mark which trees, could stay, which ones need to be removed. But a majority of material for this northern section or northwest section will be new material other than some of the olive trees, which are still in pretty good shape.
And what are you gonna do about are the invasive grasses and everything that are in there now? Are those all getting removed?
Those are getting removed, yes.
Okay.
And the
Tom,
rows,
that's removed consistently all the way up and down
yes, yeah.
all the planting areas?
Yeah, it's the desire of the HOA not to have the grasses any longer. Just at the time of year, they have to maintain them and cut them back is kind of during their seasonal times. It just, they've been problematic.
Any other landscape questions? Questions on the houses? 16-foot driveway, plenty of planting area on both sides.
I mean, as far as questions, I guess what I'm curious about is when you go through the established part of Ascena now, there's sort of a palette of plant material that is pretty obvious, right? There's stuff in there that exists currently. How much of that, are you introducing new plants in this phase that does not exist in the existing project?
We actually did the design work for the existing. Some of the materials you'll see in the existing areas, there have been homeowner improvements done, but as the basic materials, we're following a similar plant palette of the successful plants only.
Okay, and I should have been more specific. I mean, like the common areas, the streetscapes, the pocket parks.
Yes.
Dog run areas, all of that stuff that palette you think is consistent with the palette?
Yes.
Maybe, that palette is consistent with what's currently planted.
Correct. A lot of the palette, again, was based on visiting some of those areas and then input from the HOA for specifics within the plant palette. We had actually had some other materials, but as we went through the design phase of the project, it was pointed out, hey, we found this plant does better, let's substitute these out.
Sure.
So I believe we hit on the plant palette that they are.
And what about the general density of plant material compared? Because when I go through Ascena, feels very well planted, very established. There's very little bare ground that you can see when you're driving through and you see the streetscapes, and it's very deliberate, and it is disciplined, right? The palette is pretty restrained in a lot of the areas, which gives it a feeling of elegance.
Correct.
And then this feels like it's more of a collection of a lot of different plants. So we'll say less disciplined, less edited from a standpoint. So I'm just kind of wondering how you're balancing those two strategies in this new phase, because it feels to me like a pretty big departure just when I look at it.
Well, if you come in the entrance on your left, that whole new area with the park, we designed that. And that was, a portion of that was existing. I think where you see the areas of density is just because it's been there 20-some years. And there is some desire upon the HOA to maybe get that more under control, so to speak. So our spacing of the plants, we have provided more spacing between the plants purposefully. And, there might be some other areas along the streetscapes, where they've got existing materials that we would add to those. But for this section, we've maintained a similar plant palette and density that we had in our other portions of the project.
Because most of the common areas, the streetscapes, you really don't read the walls that are there because there's so much plant material. And when I look at this, I'm just missing that. Like the pocket park is nice. You have, at least with the wall treatment, you've dealt with that as an edge, which I think is nice. It's successful. As you move to sort of plan left along Nova there, then that kind of starts to fall apart.
Well, if you can see, there are vines all along that section of the wall, so we purposely did not place the shrubs, heading east, I guess it would, or south on that particular street. So we wanted to allow that planting to have more space, so that's where we went to the wall.
Yeah, I mean,
into the vines.
I can appreciate the vine treatment, which I think is nice, but then there's no, I'm not reading sort of the middle ground.
Mhm. Well, we have Tacoma shrubs in there. There's some of the Dodneas. Also alternating, we didn't make a straight line of them like a hedgerow.
Yeah.
But we just changed the colors back and forth, contrasting.
So the symbol size that I'm seeing there, what sort of maturity is that symbol size represent for those shrubs?
It's pretty close to mature size.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there are big gaps in this landscape.
There are, yes, open
Yeah,
spaces, yeah.
Yeah. And it just, when I look at it, it feels like that's fairly consistent, I guess, which is kind of what's troubling me a little bit. Instead of it feeling like masses, it
materials.
feels very much insular.
We purposely did that just from a maintenance standpoint and a readability instead of everything just being masses. But the groupings themselves create masses. I've seen, in 35 years out here, we've done median islands and it looked like nothing in the beginning, and with irrigation to some of these, all of a sudden, they're like a jungle, and then they have to go back and take material out. So we purposely space the material out for maintenance purposes.
All right, thank you. I think we've got a lot to cover here.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
did that thumb drive
Yes.
solution work?
I added 2 files. Look at the latest date. That's what was presented at the subcommittee meeting, but I did add the original as well in case we do want to touch base on that.
Well, what we see in our packets, I'm looking at page 25, that's not changing. I mean, that's representative of,
It is with the new elevation design, yes, but that is how the houses will be spaced out with the 0 lot lines, and that is an example, except for the color scheme, but that is from an elevation standpoint and plan. That is an example of what the street frontage could look like.
okay. And the changes we're gonna see are roof lines
Yes, for the mid-century, so that was
for the just for the mid-century, just the plan
correct.
3C.
Yes.
Okay.
Based on the comments that we received, it was really directed towards that mid-century elevation.
Okay.
And I know I'm particularly interested in how the mid-century evolved.
Yes, yeah, so we'll be able to see that. So that was the original, and I think there's another PDF in there. Do you want to do the plan or the revised?
We can't
We
get
can
them
go
both
look
up at
at
the
the
same
plan.
time. We have to pick.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
No, we can look at the plan first so that you can see what was originally submitted to planning commission in regards to the mid-century, and then we have some sketches that were created based on the planning commission comments that we presented to subcommittee. So we can kind of go in chronological order here. So as you can see,
Leah, you can go up to the screen
Yeah.
and talk to it.
or maybe, do you want to?
Well, actually, are we gonna go back to the one even before this?
That,
Back when the mid-century looked,
no, that one, that's just because it's the plan 3. I think the plan 1 and 2 were the one with the flat roof.
yeah, I mean, it's just, okay, well, I know there was an iteration back when we started back in the very beginning with the first meeting we had here, which the massing was completely different. It didn't have any of the pitched roofs.
Oh,
We wanna go back that far?
we could.
This is kind of an interim here.
Well, Chair, what do you want to see?
I want to see what they want us to see.
Okay.
I mean,
All right.
this is that.
So that we're approving what they want us to see.
Okay, Leah, do you need time to pull up another set of plans?
If you want to see the fully original version.
So
No, I don't think we need to go back.
There's been
to-
3 versions of
Yeah,
it.
we don't
There
need to
was-
go back to the evolution of this. Let's look at
Okay.
Okay.
the interpretation of what was gleaned from the planning commission and the subcommittee and where we are today, so that we can comment on it.
I'd like to know, this was the original that was submitted.
That was the original.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So what I see on the mid-century is it's a single shed at the upper
Yes.
roof, and it's a combination gable in this guy. And it is currently what now?
Well, currently now what we did is we broke the second floor roof
Uh-huh.
roof line, so we have 2 opposing shed roofs, so to speak.
So one higher, one lower?
Yeah, so we kind of broke the massing of that. We also
Do you have an
adjusted.
image of that? I know we're looking at
We'd have
something
to,
old and you're explaining to us.
This is this
Well, this,
presentation.
I'm just looking at our current one here.
He's comparing what's on the screen versus what we
Yeah,
have
I'm
on
looking at
paper.
what we had before
difficult to do.
to now we have this where we broke the 2
Okay, so what
roofs.
we have in our package is this.
Yes,
Yeah,
correct.
we have that. Okay. We have that. And that's
So
hot
that,
off the press. This is.
yeah, that's,
Sure.
that's the latest one. So what we did was we also adjusted the masonry. There's a little more of an asymmetrical element. We introduced color blocking. We increased the overhangs on the roof and we increased the size of the fascia material to a 2x8. And then, of course, then we took all those elements, we kind of went around to the entry side and to the rear elevation too, with the shade elements, the overhangs. Some of the materials that wrap back along the entries, we adjusted those. I think there's another element too on the side elevations where we popped up one of the massing to kind of break that up a little bit on the side elevation.
On our single stories.
Yeah, that was before. This was before. This lacked color blocking. It lacked some of the shading elements. It lacked kind of the change of level for the central portion of the mass for the left elevation and the right elevation.
Right, so what you have in your packet is what they're requesting.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
What's on the screen is just showing you what we originally presented.
That's
Okay.
page
how we
30.
Do you guys have any further architectural presentation that you'd like to make, or did Planner Malacher cover everything pretty well and we can get into question and answer with you guys?
Yeah, I think so. I think that the packet that you have in front of you is everything
Okay,
that we are.
let me start with Member Walsh. Any questions of the applicant?
I don't think so.
Okay,
I don't think so. I have other questions.
okay. You got committee discussion.
Yeah.
Okay. Member Castro, questions of the applicant?
No questions. I have similar comments and thoughts.
Member Elliott?
I mean, I asked the ones I had
Okay,
already,
so you can essentially leave.
No, I'm not leaving.
Okay.
But I've asked the questions of the applicant.
Member Dillon?
I have a couple of quick questions. When I'm looking at the 2-story units, particularly the Vincent, can you talk a little bit about the height of that upper element? There's a significant amount of blank space above the head of the window. I'm curious what's happening in that space.
Well, I mean, that's an area that we have discussed at length, and so, you know, I go back to the original design guidelines with the styles that were selected have they rely on massing to carry the architecture. And then the other area that we spent a lot of time with was just with our truss engineer a mechanical engineer, and just the climatic conditions that are here.
So it's interstitial space,
Yeah, and
basically.
so those spaces became necessary in order to get the ducts through. And so we spent a lot of time with them on that, you know, because I think one of the original comments from the subcommittee was, is there a potential of maybe taking it down a little bit? And we went back, and we looked, trying what we could, and we basically couldn't get there with the depth of the trusses for structural and the size of the ducting, the insulation around the ducting, the clearance to the trusses and all that, so.
Nothing else?
Well, that's sort of the main question, like, just proportionally, that upper floor is tall and narrow. And then the window is there, and there's this blank chunk of wall up there. It looks heavy to my eye.
Well, I mean, there is an opportunity to take that tall, slender one to the left and bring it down to the height of the adjacent roof. I think too, if we look at the renderings, where the renderings are. If you look at the renderings, it kind of looks at a little bit more three-dimensional instead of two-dimensional. Rifling through to the Vincent. Here we go. So here's an example of like the Vincent here, three-dimensionally. And so we purposely put the second floor kind of in the middle of the house because we didn't want to draw too much attention to the sides to get too tall of massing. And so this, you can see here in the elevation here that it's, you know, it blends pretty nice. But like what I was saying, I mean, this could come down to be with the adjacent, and we could still do the color blocking here if that, you know, that would help.
All right, I've got one question. It's just to try to help the committee out. Have you studied the plan types adjacent to one another for privacy issues? Are you pretty confident that as these guys go in, the side issues are?
Well, I think, again, by locating the second floor towards the middle of the house increases the privacy. And then too, I think, Leah, the mix of some of the plans, what is the mix of actual 2 stories?
We're about 1/3 of 2-story versus single stories.
So it's not 50%, it's actually just a third 2 stories. And those have been pretty carefully plotted so they can kind of create a nice street scene and organization. So, and then too, a lot of the windows that are up in the second floor are, you know, the main windows are to the front and to the rear. And so there's less of a side orientation windows for privacy.
Okay, all right. So we can generally just focus on massing streetscape architecture, materials, and secondarily, we can look at those side windows. It looks like you, for whatever reasons, there's some head heights that are inconsistent. And it just may be in the packet. And we can point those out as well. So, all right, I don't want to speak out of turn here, but I think the way this is going to go is we're going to use this session to specifically look at each elevation and each type and give you guys feedback. And then this project will get restudied and you'll come back to us and we'll look at it and hopefully we're all somewhere where we're feeling comfortable. Okay. Does that sound reasonable? So expectations are, we're not trying to get them out the door today. We're trying to give them additional feedback so that when we see them again, hopefully we're at minor tweaks and improvements and not restudy and then they've got to go through some other process. All right, sound good? Okay. Well, thank you guys. Let you have a seat and the committee will start discussing.
Thank you.
And of course, we'll yell out if something comes up. All right, Member Walsh, how would you like to do this? Would you like to go to the specific plan and elevation for each and go through it, or do we want to do it on the collective image?
This is what's before you today. Yeah, we just switched it back.
Yep. How would you like to, putting you on the spot?
It is going to be built within its own context. So I think the place to start, you asked the question, is how does it look as an overall composition? And Glenn, in page 9 of the staff report, where there's a list of international, modernistic, mid-century, who wrote that? Is that lifted from the design guidelines of Asina?
Page 9 of the staff report,
Yes.
that's the last page, the conclusion.
I'm sorry, no, yeah, page 5.
Page 5. This is from their submission. Actually, no, no. This is from the Asina design guidelines. This is, I paraphrased what the Asina design guidelines is recommending. And
Okay.
this coincides with what's at the back of your packet that says Asina.
And those were the original guidelines from Interactive Design back in 2003.
2005.
2005.
So this is all we have to go by. So that's what is, I mean, I understand that some committee members have not, none of us were here in I wasn't here in
It's
2005.
got history.
So I wanted to include some of the discussion.
Yeah.
That, okay. So you had something to go by, and that's why I included them in the back of the packet, so.
Yeah, that's the cookbook. And so that is going to produce something that we're going to live with. I'm kind of troubled a bit about the process, to be honest. And certainly some of the evolution of the product. I think it's important that these that these homes, the way they express an elevation, look like they have something to do with one another. And it strikes me that there's a huge fear of monotony. Because part of the cookbook is to, have these things repeat in some random rhythm. I think that that is a difficult thing to process because you're going to get things that really don't look like they relate. This probably isn't what you want to hear.
No, it's
Okay,
exactly what I want.
this is not good. And I would worry about the delta improvement that's necessary between what we're seeing and 2 more meetings. And it's disappointing and it's very troubling. And I wish I could do something constructive about it. I can certainly comment on elevations that don't look particularly thought out and seem to be grabbing toward elements and visual animation that would build from it, but the whole WHOLE is not coming together, I think. I mean, I can make that point 6 times, but I think you kind of get it when you see it. And I think something like this takes a whole bunch of further study and a true meeting of the minds in terms of, are you setting a trap for yourself if you insist upon this level of differences between them, kind of themed differences that don't necessarily really, to me, reflect, what the stylistic terms that they're looking for. This is a trap, and it rarely results in good architectural product. Sorry.
Okay, we're not gonna run out of the room screaming, so we need to persevere.
I did not mean to be anything other than optimistic.
Yes, yes,
Well, it would be good to leave the meeting with direction to them.
absolutely.
Right.
And we intend to.
Okay, well, let me take, all right, just not to carry on here, but, okay, get some horizontal relationships between these elevations that begin to kind of make some sense. There needs to be justification to things so that they don't look arbitrary. You know, this needs to look, these pieces of architecture have a purpose, they have a function. And I need to be able to look at it and understand problem solving. Is there a real consistency to overhangs? Are they always on the south and the west windows? Are they deep enough to be effective? Wire materials changed from one point elevation to another. It just sort of needs to come together. And I think if it were to be studied and a homogeny of them were to be developed, I think that they would sort of begin to shed some of these individualistic things that we want to see about contemporary or international or whatever. And you might begin to get a composition of a streetscape that looks good. It looks like some things relate to other things, and things are being solved, and you have nice human spaces, and you can kind of see into the homes a little bit, but they maintain their privacy. The point that came up about the distance between the window head and the top of the parapet is totally valid. Big disproportion going on here. I understand the challenge with respect to getting the framing to work, getting the ducting to work, but this does not look, it looks top heavy as a kind of start. And I'll be quiet now. It's, others may, you know.
Monopolizing is fine. Thank you. Member Dillon, thoughts?
I agree with Member Walsh's comments. I think that it's interesting because some elements are used repeatedly in the different houses, but there's a disconnect between them. And they're very garage forward, which I recognize is the nature of a lineal house on a smaller lot, that they're long and deep. But I struggle with that dimension of the head to the top of the wall, I'm gonna call it, because some of them just sort of, and the placement of the windows, especially the bedrooms in the front, where there's a low window and then a linear window and a wall sort of arbitrarily placed on there. I struggle the most with this mid-century version because of the way that the roof lines are colliding with one another, front and back.
Member Elliott, how much do you think the one element that isn't visible that we're looking at, which is the trees and the landscape, will help? And I'm not trying to put lipstick on a pig or hide a pig, but how much of that is going to help this from what you read from the landscape plan?
Well, I'm struggling with the landscape plan as it sits today. So I think it could help, but I don't think what I'm seeing in these plans is going to be super helpful to mitigate any of that.
All right, let me start to suggest some options here. What does the committee think if we had one unified, solid garage door? Colors could change, but we're not trying to create another beautification differentiator with the garage door. What if that went away as an element and it was just a smooth flat panel door? Help or hurt?
Oh, hell,
I say help.
absolutely. It's a garage.
Okay.
Everybody knows it. So you just put up a plain garage door.
Okay,
mean-
let's start there. How much flexibility do you guys have with garage height? Because you're only, from my opinion, getting the trusses in there and you're not having to deal with the mechanical. Could that top of the garage come down 18 inches consistently across all of those?
Well, we looked at that. I think that the problem children are the 2 stories and trying to get ducts around to it.
Yeah.
And so that creates kind of that, we might be able to do it to a plan or 2, but we wouldn't be able to do it to all of them.
The struggle of the 2 stories in the garage is that the trusses at the garage are the same ones that wrap back to the rear of the house. So in order to be able to keep that consistent, it's also, when you look at it in section, the trusses are the same depth as our 4 trusses between the first and second stories. That allows us to run ducts throughout the house. So for the 2 stories, that might be a little trickier to do that.
You just lost me, but I'm trying to imagine framing this thing. If I took a truss, even if it was a shed truss, so it's got a slope to it, I run it back till it hits that second story, or I run it back till it hits the mechanical unit sitting in the garage, and then I've got some kind of plenum and I've got to distribute it and I need more height. Why couldn't I have a lower height at the street that runs back till that point where it has to jump up because there's a plenum or there's something else going on? And I know I just talked a bunch of architectural
Yeah, I think that's
gibberish, but
that's doable. Yeah. I mean, there's,
so that could be an improvement if the committee thinks lowering the massing of the garage at the front is going to help the streetscape. I think Member Walsh was getting to something else, which is, and again, an architectural, what is the datum that collects all of these things, right? We've got a collective head height, but we don't have a collective, I don't know, an element that inflects it the same height across all of these that we can say, all right, that's the height datum that is giving consistency to these elements. And so maybe it is just, can you go to the streetscape again? Maybe it is just how that eyebrow element on those 3 cubic, you know, we can call them whatever we want to, modernistic, international, modernistic, but they're massing cubes that 1 has a solar control element on it, 2 don't have any solar control elements on them.
Yeah.
And if there were some consistency with the solar control at the front, it might again, and I think you're hearing something from this group, which is probably different than the interpretation of looking at the guidelines, which is differentiate these. But I think that's the core of the problem. And Member Walsh identified that is, that's what's creating the kind of cartoon character of what we're seeing here, is they're all screaming to be consistently different.
so we have an 8-foot garage door. We have a horizontal element above it. I see it on 3 of the plans there. That's all in the same spot. And then at the height on top of that, the parapet was all the same height. Is that's something that would be desired to do that? And then having a similar garage door. Does that help?
Well, as soon as you said 8-foot garage door, that's an over height garage door, which I'm going to say something that's not helping you, but why couldn't it be 7 feet?
Typically in this type of product, we go to 8 feet just because people have roof racks, SUVs, taller cars and things like that. So plus the 7-foot
Well, it's the other thing that's hurting because these are so narrow and now we've got something that is pushing vertically, right?
Well, I think those elements could all align, if that's something that we'd wanna do. I mean, there's certainly, cause I see right now, all the headers and all the garage doors, if we adjusted the parapets to all be in the same height, we could have alignment.
Well, the garage parapet might come down. But this horizontal piece that we're talking about could, yeah, it could go from bottom at 8 feet
Right.
and create that consistency
Right.
across the.
And if you look at the mid-century, it does not have that member right now, but I mean, it could have that member. That would help.
So a horizontal eyebrow below the
Above the
gable.
garage door on the mid-century that matches the one on the other two styles.
I mean, I think we need to take away elements and not keep adding on more trim. Are you looking for a datum of a line that has some level of consistency?
Yeah, I'm
Because-
trying to suggest elements that make the streetscape feel, regardless of the type behind it, that there's consistency
Mhm.
amongst them. And solar control is one really good way to do it, right?
And those are all at the same height. Solar control, the 8-foot high glass, they're all at the same height. The doors are at 8 feet. So we got a lot of elements that are all at the same heights.
I mean, perhaps that the garages are the same will help. That they're just one solid garage is one thing. I'm just seeing a lot of horizontal and vertical elements just kind of competing with each other every other house.
Well, here's the fear that we run into. One is if we don't suggest more things to try to get these into some sort of uniformity, we're gonna get back what we're seeing right now. And I don't think any of us are happy with what we're seeing right now. So we can overspend today and then go, "Oh, that was a little too far, take that back off." Right? But so the far left or the far right modernistic has some kind of hat sitting up at the roof, not doing anything for solar control, not doing anything for, water mitigation, anything else that I can see. So that can go. Does that make that modernistic look more like the Plan 1B,
It does.
which is fine? I think this committee
We
is
have an
saying,
alternate in this presentation
Yeah.
that takes that hat off.
okay,
Because that was brought up in the subcommittee meeting.
okay.
If you
Should
don't
we
mind
just
going
kind
to
of
one
go
of
through and
those
go hat on, hat off?
Yeah, no, the hat off is better.
Hat off?
Hat off.
Okay. Anybody? Okay.
Go back.
Keep going. There you go.
No, one more. There, so on the right side, the top one is the one where you just called it with the hat on. And then below it, the 1B alternate is just another type of parapet detail that recesses 2 inches.
Kind of a
would say.
regular type detail.
Oh, it recesses.
And if it were just clean plaster straight up, we would have a drip edge on top of that.
Yeah.
But this one would have a drip edge on top of both of those, the step back and
Just the top portion.
just the top portion.
Is that popped up area in that plan?
That's
The
our
tallest
entry.
part of that?
It's our entry. It's just to bring more massing articulation and to draw the person to the entry of the home.
Is it, I walk in the door, is it a cathedral ceiling in there? Is that the idea?
No, it is the same, for the single story, it is the same, ceiling height.
So it's empty space.
So it's just massive.
Yeah, it is used for, mechanical, but I think that it probably is taller than it needs to be from a mechanical
It
standpoint.
looks taller than it needs to be.
Yeah,
What
that
is-
was driven
especially in
by
the
just a massing perspective and wanting to provide more massing at the entry of the home.
What is the vertical composition above the eave that's the extended canopy over the garage door? What is that dimension and what is that composed of and why is it so high?
Maybe the dimension could be like 9 feet, but so our garage is 10 foot inside, so the door is 8. Then you have the garage that is a ceiling that's an extra 2 feet above that, and then you have 24 inches for your trusses, plus your roof sloping, plus 8 inches for your typical parapet that gives you the waterproofing.
I would immediately challenge the need for a 10-foot ceiling in the garage. Why do you have that? It should be a simple curb, top side of the truss to achieve slope that's like a 1/4 inch a foot or something. I mean, you really don't need anything up there. And I just, instantly you can like and start to proportion this thing to make some sense. I think.
Yeah, because that collective adding on, it just gets it out of human scale. And with the narrowness of the lots, we're fighting, we're just fighting the composition of all the pieces side by side. And they're each screaming on their own about, look at me.
The narrowness of the lots, I have trouble with the mid-century design altogether. I just feel like these sloped roofs go nowhere. They're so short and abrupt.
So are you proposing to get rid of any sloped roofs in this and have them all?
Yes, I would propose so. I think the 2-story mid-century perhaps has some chance, but these 1-story ones they look gimmicky. I don't call them mid-century. I think they're just, the scale is off. It's too narrow to really get a sense of that mid-century low slung sloping design that we all love. I don't love these.
Is there a consensus on slope roof on the single story that it would improve?
And would you mind going to the original? I just want to show you what was originally proposed on planning commission because it was a 1 to 12 slope and then the front bedroom was actually a flat roof.
Sure.
Trying to
Do
see
you
if
want us to
would
pull that up?
Yeah. If you
Potentially
can.
want to see that, just to see if that's
Yes,
the
the very
direction that you
first
would want
one,
us
not
to
the one
go
that's the first one.
in for mid-century.
Is that 1 to 12 there or is that, that's 2 to 12?
I think what's been challenging is we get lots of direction. We try to use that direction and we go to a different body, a different set of people.
Oh, it's terrible. Yes.
And so
It doesn't lead you.
just as an aside, if you told us you didn't want the mid-century, we'd be fine with it. Because calling it a mid-century in a town like Palm Springs, I hear what you're saying. The lot size doesn't correspond to it. So we're doing it because the design guidelines say it, and we're trying to hold the design guidelines because when we were planning commission, they said, hey, you need to make sure you're following design guidelines.
I think the narrowness of these lots lend itself more so to these modernistic
And so
and
our
international.
first one had a flat parapet on the front and a sloping roof and it was more compatible with the other 2 elevations. But if you guys give us guidance to say, hey, make all the garage doors flush metal.
Tony, I think we need a little guidance just to make sure, because we can push this to the nth degree and get these guys in a whole lot of issues with planning commission or whomever.
Well, I mean, just really quick, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, just so we have.
Greg Deacon,
It's all right.
Brothers.
Let me close that loop before I forget. I think yes, it is absolutely within your purview to push them in the direction that you and your professional judgment and in alignment with the design guidelines to the extent that they continue to be appropriate. But
Okay, so let's just take this on its face. If I were the planning commission, I would have had issues with it too, but for different reasons. The reasons that are consistent with what this body has been saying tonight, which is massing. Not that it's a single shed roof from one end to the other. It's just that it starts some 11 feet, 12 feet in the air and then goes across. We drive around town, we see Palmer and Kreisel Alexanders that start at 7 foot and then do a long gable. And it's just hard to get that in your head that there's that much forehead above an 8-foot garage door before we get the slope of the roof. So they're saying it because they probably not articulating what's wrong with it, but I would have taken exception to that as well. If I could take that whole thing and push it down and have that slope start at 9 feet, maybe it works. But we're fighting that narrow lot vertical proportion for both modern systems running through it and secondarily all SUVs or whatever else is going in those garages. And I think this body's trying to push that as far as we can, that's practical, that still allows you guys to market these and sell them. And I don't know that we get there, you know.
I think for us, we need a 10-foot inside and we need an 8-foot garage door. Like those are the two things that our buyers, if we don't provide that, we're gonna have challenge selling here.
Why the 10-foot inside?
Just livability. Like we have to provide our buyers something to buy new that they can't get with the resale. Because you go to resale, it's 9 foot, it's 8 foot. And we have to give them something better so they buy us versus something that's resale. And this isn't our first time at Decina. Like the floor plans are very good floor plans. Buyers like them. Honestly, what we originally proposed was after 6 meetings of the last go around. And so we sort of took what we got and sort of started there. And again, like we've gone through 3 more iterations through this with more comments. And so like it is kind of it's a mix match. And that's where I was listening intently to Member Walsh, like you say, get rid of the mid-century. The international and the modernistic are very similar. They have similar massing. We take out that eyebrow, like that was added because someone asked us to do it. And it was probably added in the design guidelines to try to provide a little differentiation between the elevations, because that's what we normally hear from bodies is, I don't want them all to look the same. And your point's valid. Like if we want to have some continuity and have a commonality street scene, like it's more the same is better. Make them not look exactly the same, but I think we're close. You know, all the header heights are the same. We'll take a look. There was a comment that some of the side elevations had a different stepping height for the window header height, so we can take a look at that. And I guess to Member Elliott's, like we do have 2 trees on every one of these homes. Like there's not a lot of real estate that you're gonna actually see the house.
Yeah.
Like one's on the side yard, and that's gonna sort of protect the corner, and then one is right in front of the house. And so the most visible part of this home is probably gonna be the garage. And I think for the single-story homes, we'll look for the mechanical. I think those can drop down. The 2-story homes were the ones that are mechanical, just because they're trying to bring the trusses, you know, side to side, all the way back. There is significant challenges with ductwork to do this. Like our Title 24 has gotten crazy.
Yes, we know.
Like I'm R60.
Yeah, how do you achieve that?
Like with spray foam.
Yeah,
with
spray
ducting, and we try to drop some of these down at NOLA, And we ended up having to do dog houses and stuff because we just couldn't get the ducts around the beams. And so that's where we're sort of, we have experience doing this, and everything sort of leads to sort of where we're at. Again, the single stories, I think, we probably can go down 12 inches. We can get rid of the cap, because that's just adding to everything.
Get rid of the half.
And the materials that we're providing, like, these are nice materials. The tower has like ceramic tile on the clad, like these are high end, these are upscale homes. That finish.
The
really
tower, what's the tower?
The entry tower, like if you look at that International, that's all tile clad. The mid-century has.
The one that looks like a castle?
No, here. It's where they
I'm sorry.
squish into the entry.
Okay,
There.
yeah.
There are these subtle points that just don't get worked into consciousness. One of them is these iconic pieces that were done at different points in time, the mid-century, post and beam, whatever, something modern. It was an expression of the materials and the technology and the detailing that was done at that time. You have an entirely different driver in terms of codes, issues like that, and it shows no mercy. You must achieve that. And so this is why you can't have wafer thin roofs and you can't have window mullions that, we all kind of know this, but the cookbook here as issued seems to be directing doing that. It's like, it's not gonna work. You're going to get an entirely different aesthetic that's a byproduct of what is demanded of you from code.
Now offer solutions.
You almost need to kind of start fresh.
Start fresh. Okay.
I don't know.
Remember, Dylan, let me throw you right in the headlights.
All right.
Suggestions.
I think the height of the garage for sure needs to drop. If there's 5 feet between the head of that door and the top of the wall, and you are saying you need a 10-foot garage, there's extra room in there that could come out of that. There's not gonna be any HVAC in that garage.
I need 8-foot garage door. The single stories we can probably bring down 12 inches.
Right.
The 2 stories are where we have challenges because with a livable and getting ductwork, it does go into that garage space and then around for structural. And so we tried to look at this. We ended up being consistent between the single story and the 2-story. But I think what they're saying is the single stories, we can bring it down 12. The 2 stories are more problematic.
So I think the garage needs to be shorter to the degree that that can happen. I think it needs, I like the term forehead. It's got a big forehead and it needs to have a proportional forehead. I think the other thing I mentioned before in terms of the garage door, if the garage door is just a flat panel door, that's fine. The garage door is the majority of the elevation. And I think that's where we struggle with the proportions because the garage is the main element in the elevation over and over and over again. I think treating that pop-out bedroom in ways that are demonstrably different. The form is going to be the same, but the execution of the detailing of it, you've got an awning on one, you've got an eyebrow on the other, and then you have an L-shaped window on the third. I guess that's the old one, right?
Yeah, that's the old one.
The mid-century in the packet we have here, that front element for that bedroom looks larger for some reason. I'm not sure if it is or not. Looks wider.
I think that's the perspective of I think it's stretched.
It
a
might
little.
be, yeah, it just looks much wider because there's a wide window and then an element of brick or split face block or something on the front of that. I think we lose that hat on the top of the two elements and that modernistic one that we talked about earlier, garage door, changes, shorter garage doors. I would study that facade of that modernistic one with those L-shaped windows. I don't know. I don't understand that organization of windows and the block wall on the side. I think that's a starting point anyway. I'm not sure that the two-story mid-century one is the one that really bothers my eye. As I said before, I just.
Well, one of the choices in front of us is get rid of it. And then do we have something that it feels a little too cookie cutter?
Well, not really sure what the solution is with that one.
I would vote for getting rid of the mid-century. It's too unlike everything else. It feels forced to me.
Well, that helps a lot. It's 25% of the problem removed.
Just, I think introducing a sloped roof and such a narrowness in the front is.
It's very inconsistent.
It's inconsistent. I get it. I get that there's a cookbook and I get that's one of the options and one of the suggested designs, but it's
Not when you lay it in the
not when you
streetscape.
lay it and the size of these lots, composition of these lots, type of home this is.
So you're saying remove the carrots out of the recipe?
And not every mid-century building has a pitched roof.
No, in fact, some of the best ones don't have a pitch at all.
And you guys are good with that, right?
Removing it?
Yeah.
Yes. I've tried to get rid of it twice now and it's back.
You're gonna go home with a smile then if we figure this out.
I'm trying to get to yes, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're here for.
I tried to say a couple helpful things.
Yes.
There, I see an element of a corner window. I would perfect that and see it often. And it should look elegant and of low sill, high head, wrapping the corner. You have potential elements that could begin to be unified the way they're detailed. And those are the things that help the overall elevation make some sense then. So that's one. Another one is, I assume that they're overhangs to provide some solar relief or something. They've got to be deeper. I know that that's a difficult achievement to cantilever it or however it's supported. But if it's these, 10-inch, 14-inch things, it just, they aren't doing it. But if you make them deeper instantly, the thing has more depth and shadow line and animation to it.
It's at 18 right now.
At 18. I would begin thinking at like 30 to 36.
That's what they are.
18.
They're 30
The overhang and the,
on the mid-century.
oh, we just killed that.
So on your comment of perfecting the corner windows, because modernistic, I think that's a theme for all of them. You sort of look at this image, like we've got two larger windows and two higher windows. How would you like to see that modified? Because that is, like, if you look at the 1B, it has it, you just can't see around the corner.
Yes, I see it. Yes, and I'm sorry, what was your question?
You said that you wanted us to perfect it, if you could give us a little bit more.
Hey, the proportion would be real nice. A, B, it would open. C, low sill, I do it at like 24, 30, I would do 30-inch sills, so furniture can go in there. If you could get your overall window head height up, that would be good. What am I looking at right now?
8 feet.
8. Oh, okay, all right. And what's the ceiling height in those living rooms?
10.
10. You know, you could drop that to 9 and not miss a beat. And lower where you need to lower things.
The 10-foot's the one that we're gonna struggle with.
People don't get it. You could bring them into this room and nobody could tell you what the ceiling height is. The most important thing in terms of your ceiling height is the relationship between the glazing and the ceiling and how that light works. I mean, if you ran glazing up to an 8-foot ceiling, everybody would walk in and tell you it was a 12-foot ceiling. So I don't buy it. I think that you have an opportunity to get that height that's making other things look weird and lower it in the living room. Just my opinion.
What if I did the opposite and raised the ceiling, raised the window to 9?
Yeah, what would really make me happy is if you could take that glass right up to the ceiling and flush frame it and figure out the framing.
Do 9.
Okay.
So just to clarify on the corner window, so we have corner windows in the modernistic elevation style.
Yes.
And then we went to international, we went to more of a centered window, so they differentiate. Is that okay?
Well, sure, it is okay, but it's a different animal. And I would make a really wonderful, elegant, centered window. That window is what this entire house is about. Everybody wants to sort of see what's in there if you really handle it well. Yeah. Yeah.
So that window goes pretty much to this, to the ground. Like,
Yeah,
is it
and
wider?
I don't know, what would I do? I would,
All-
yeah, there's nothing to step out to, right?
No.
Okay,
And the way that people furnish that,
yeah, they
they're
need
not
that.
pushing shades. They're not pushing furniture right up to the,
No, they sometimes do. It's a bedroom typically on the front.
oh, this is a bedroom. But they're not putting the bed there.
No, the
No,
bed
no, no.
wall is on the left side,
Oh, wait a minute, now that's a bedroom?
correct?
Yeah.
They're all
On,
bedrooms in
on
the front.
two A?
Typically, that's your second that primary.
Yeah,
or
okay.
This suite.
If you go to the floor plans,
It's a bedroom and all.
right there, yeah, so they're all bedrooms.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, okay, you're kind of on the street there, right? Yeah, okay. Well,
Makes a better office.
totally.
These are small houses. Like, it's 2 bedrooms and maybe a third.
Well.
I know.
Yeah, no,
It's like your
tough.
bubble kind of burst there.
Oh, on the windows?
Well, I mean, no, I think the windows, I just think that it's trying to have a bedroom in the front. It's not showcasing so much
No.
at all.
No.
There's no showcase with the front.
Member Walsh, I'm with you. I tell my clients all the time, even on the multi-million-dollar homes, bedrooms, we have 9-foot ceilings. But it is all about where that window head height sits in relation to the ceiling. And if we can carry the ceiling material to the outdoors, it just all of a sudden makes the room feel, as big as the indoor-outdoor relationship will allow it. Here, you're gonna fight that. I don't know that taking that window head height up to 9 feet does anything.
Your framers will scream. I mean, or laugh.
Yeah. In my opinion, if we could sit on these things and push them down, it just, helps the proportions overall. And we're contradicting ourselves to a certain extent if we have 9-foot window head heights, 8-foot garage doors, 8-foot entry door, you know, if we've got this thing that's all of a sudden jumping around instead of creating something that starts to unify. And then thirdly, it's a bedroom, so or the den or something.
And I'm gonna comment because it's a rough thing. I'm, the entry here that we're looking at, that's a very tough space to make okay. Don't you think?
What do you mean more by?
Dimensionally, it's not particularly inviting.
Is it 3.6, 4 feet?
The front door?
The walkway to the front.
Width going to the front door.
Oh, it's,
The walkway is 4, I believe.
you know.
Come on, Tom,
It's
you
like
should
we
know.
do.
You've got 4 cactus in there.
Narrow.
was
It's
3.6.
narrow, correct, it's narrow for a
Okay.
45-foot wide house.
Do you,
Garage would
offhand,
give
do you
a
kind of know
bedroom.
what the dimension might be?
Oh, the
I
width.
sense a very difficult problem to fix.
Well, the lot size is the start. Like,
And
like
maybe-
I inherited that. Yeah, well.
Yeah, there are some built-in things that you sign up for if you know, if you're gonna do that kind of a lot, and that's not real good.
Okay, one other comment on scale of material. So we are looking at, I think you said it's an upgraded ceramic tile on that tower. What we found in our residential projects is anything taller than a 6-inch high piece feels industrial, and that is because above 6-inch high, we get to 8-inch high concrete blocks, which is consistent for all industrial buildings. Above that, you get to something that starts to feel like, and I made the comment earlier, like it's a castle, like it's stone that is big, rustic, at the scale of something that one would see in, you know, in a castle. So here, you're using something that's very out of proportion and something that we're fighting these proportions. So I would say a maximum of 6-inch high material, whatever you use. So just scale that thing down so that it could still be as long as you want it, but it can't really be any higher than 6 inches or it starts to feel industrial. Or it goes to the cartoon of looking like gigantic stone was placed somehow magically floating in the air. All right, I think what we need to do is we just need to make a motion for restudy. Mr. Malaka, we're gonna be asking you to kind of hit the bullet points and we'll.
Right, I've been
kind of
writing
all
them
go,
down.
Yes, yes, yes.
You want me to read them off? Okay. The garage doors to all be similar?
In height and material.
Does anybody object to that? Okay, yes.
Okay. Eliminate mid-century model.
Anybody take exception to that?
If you feel you could make a valiant try at getting some unity with it, we would embrace seeing it again, if I may speak.
Yes.
Okay, but if not, we will take it out of the problem.
Lower the garage door or the garage door height to be 8 feet.
It's the garage door is.
The garage door is 8 feet. They're kind of
Or the
insisting that's a
garage.
differentiator on their sale. It's the head height above what I call the forehead. So lower the
Right.
forehead to as low as they can get it.
Okay. Lose the hat on the modernistic model.
Anybody have any issues with that? Yep, good.
The only concern is it's gonna look very, very similar to the other one.
No, that's.
You mean the prior design?
That may be.
The
No,
international.
yes and no. The international, the modernistic, like that was one of the finite differences. One was the corner window that differentiated it. And then the other was that some type of parapet versus the modernistic. The modernistic was supposed to be the clean one. And then we sort of added that in to make it different. So we're okay with it. I don't want to be here next time and, hey, they look the same.
I think that in that will be our salvation. That some things start to look the same.
Yeah, I think I'm looking at page 44. Can you go to 44?
Let me see what that is.
It's the modernistic plan to. So if that hat came off, it improves. And then what differentiates it is it has kind of a wainscot of material, which seems fine. Keep going.
That's not. Yes, and one of, you could take the overhang, make it bigger over the garage and continue to wrap it over the glazing and get a nice corner window. And you could have a winner here.
Could you pull up that plan just so I can see what you're saying? That's what plan are you?
Oh, that's the 2-story.
No,
You want
the one he's looking at right now.
You want the 1-story modernistic, that one.
Ooh, which one are you wrapping?
Okay, so I'm just starting with the hi-hat on this guy goes away. We're all good. Even if it has similarities to something else.
Yes.
Can you explain why the window head height is at 8 feet, but the garage door looks like it's 7.6 because that screed line that comes around looks like it hits the top of the brow?
So that.
Which would mean the garage doors,
They're supposed to be both at 8.
it's supposed to be both at 8.
Yeah, it's supposed to be both.
This
both
looks
at 8.
better.
No.
It's 8 inches lower because
Of
of
the stem.
finished floor.
Yeah. So the door is 8 foot,
Yeah.
but it goes down a tad because
Right.
it doesn't sit on top of the stem wall.
Okay. All right,
So it does work.
so it does work.
So we did lower him.
No, that's good. No, that's a good point. That's a good point, because the stem wall is gonna make the garage feel like it's not as tall as it would be at 8 feet, starting at finished floor.
Okay, corner window, work on potential elements such as low sills and windows that open.
Yes. Check.
Anybody?
Would it be helpful if those windows touched each other rather than the one floating in the
This-
upper corner of the wall?
I'm not understanding the horizontal one next to the vertical one because, it needs to get its horizontal or vertical dominant DNA correct. And then, because right now those two windows just don't really relate to one another.
Again, we were just
Yes.
reacting to previous
Oh.
comments that said we needed a horizontal element and a vertical element
Oh,
and privacy
yes.
on the front. If I added another horizontal window on the other side, would that make it better?
I don't know. I'd have to see it, but I maybe don't think so.
Okay.
Here, let me throw this out there, not to try to complicate things, but this corner window looks like one has to walk by it to get to the front door. And if it flipped to the other side on this one where the garage goes, where the entry goes past it, would it, yes, it's looking onto the driveway, but would it have more privacy? And then differentiate from the other model.
It changes how that bedroom lives because you're gonna.
I come through the door and I look out a window. That's what I
But
like.
I'm saying from the interior. So if I do that, now the bed wall is towards the entry and now you're staring at the bed.
What is that?
So the bed wall here is,
Towards the garage. Towards the garage wall.
but the entry into the room, I have to walk around the bed.
No. The entry.
Somebody go to the plan, please.
That, go back one, there. So it's the Vincent.
Yes. Far left.
No, that was the judge.
Oh, that was the
We
judge.
were looking at the plan too.
I know, but they're all kind of,
We're looking at Darien? No.
The rendering we were looking at was the Judd, the second one.
Looking at the Judd, the second one. So then the bed walls on the
So you could do.
entry side.
The problem we were struggling with this plan was closet location, as you can see where it is. And when you start to put the bed wall on the opposite side, you start to have this kind of Tetris looking room with where we are putting that closet.
Yeah, I mean, this works with a corner window because you're gonna have the smaller window on the entry side coming into the front door, and you're gonna have the larger portion of the window facing the front street scene. So, and that way, the window will be over the nightstand of the bed, not over the bed.
Right.
So it'll furnish well.
But it doesn't help us with variety on the street. There are no corner conditions that look onto the driveway. They're always looking.
Well, the Darien is sort of what you're looking at is the corners towards the more private side. So that you walk on the entry and that's a solid wall.
Yeah, that's fine.
So
That
so
works.
that one is the opposite, and then the Judd is sort of the inverse. Where you walk by it.
Yeah.
As you walk in, that's a side entry, so that gate there is like a privacy gate to the side yard.
Where's the front door?
On the side, middle of the home.
Oh, in the middle of the home, in the Judd.
But you gotta walk by that bedroom corner window to get to the entry, right?
Right.
And so flipping it, you get into the issue with the closet in the room. Not necessarily the bed could stay there. So if I flip that corner window to the driveway side, the bed stays. I open the door, I look outside, that's what I'm always trying to achieve, is a through sight line.
Yeah, so what we're trying to achieve there is we're trying to kind of organize the corner window to the entry sequence coming to the front door. If it's to the garage, then your window's kind of associated to your driveway. So we put it on the left side, so it's organized to the entry into the main house. So it's gonna benefit.
I get that. If it were a den, I'd be like, yeah, high-fiving you, but it's a bedroom. So I just don't get why the UPS man, the guy who's showing up every day, the Amazon guy is walking by that bedroom.
It's not good.
I mean, that's our reality today, right? It's the Amazon guy. He shows up frickin' every day. And going forward, he's gonna show up more often. And it's gonna be a little helicopter going bzzz.
Clearly, this is one we have to solve.
Yeah.
Am I gonna get locked out if I go to the bathroom right now?
Here, I think you can go in, this door won't lock. I don't think so.
But the slider?
Yeah.
The 3-hour limit on what I can take.
Okay.
these days.
problem.
Good man.
Thank you.
Okay, so.
All right.
The next one I have is solar.
We didn't
deeper
solve that, but you
solar.
guys are thinking about it.
Yeah. that was
Deeper
gonna be tough.
solar overhangs.
Yes, yes, specifically, you know, like at least 30 feet, 36 inches minimum.
Did I miss anything? I have a lot of comments.
Materials. Scale the materials so that there's not a vertical dimension over 6 inches.
So on the solar control, can I have a little relief on my side setbacks?
Site setback.
Yeah, in his depth.
Because right now I'm only
Yeah.
allowed to do 18 inches into the protrusion.
It's, yes, it's an overhang.
Yeah, go as much as you can, but
The front and the rear, I have a little bit more latitude.
Mhm.
The sides are difficult.
So I have
Anything else?
7.
was there anything specific on the landscape?
I think he wants more density.
Well, let's have them come back.
Yeah, because I heard maybe too much density. I don't know, I heard both, so.
Any other architectural items?
That's all I have on that.
I think that's good. So somebody's got to turn that into a motion. Or say, well, let's wait.
Member Walsh, there was one horizontal element that you said that would look good. Could you mind that
Oh,
that elevation?
sometimes though, when I
Modernistic
really
one.
like, you have done far more studying of the elevations than I do in a glance. But anytime you can get more mileage out of a horizontal overhang element, do so.
Yeah, so like 1B, you like that with that
Yeah.
horizontal element going across to the front door?
Yes, and wouldn't it be nice if it kind of kept going? You know,
It returns on the corner, on the right side.
But it could run across the entry.
yeah.
It's running across the entry right now, though, right?
I think.
It goes this way, it doesn't come forward,
Yeah.
which I think would look a little, I don't know.
Okay, try it. You all are looking at this kind of promptly in 3D, I take it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that will tell you.
Let landscape be
Did you have
Was
any
there any
comments?
landscape?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
comments?
There's,
Gotta turn it into a motion.
we're trying to get a motion
Yeah, we're,
Well, we're just, yeah, finalizing the.
We're mid-motion.
mid-motion, okay. The first is just about the common space, the streetscapes, the common open space. I think that you want to look at more discipline, less variety of species, but more density of plant material. I think that you can have plants, some plants at 3 feet on center, some plants at 7 feet on center. I think that's okay as long as it feels more natural instead of one plant every 8 feet. And it's, 3 of this and 1 of that. Make them, edit and be disciplined with it. Try to find a good backbone that will unify the common space along a stretch of streetscape, and then work within that to get some variety, but just limit the amount of variety you provide. So, Club View Drive, is that the name of the main street as you come in? I think it's Club View.
Yes.
Dynamite. If you get to there, then you've got a winner. That the way it looks right now is dynamite. So
I would get inside the gate.
yeah. So that's the common space. I think that in individual units, because correct me if I'm wrong, but homeowners can mess with their own front yards, right?
We install,
You install something and then they can,
we install, like Tom develops it off of the typicals, we create a planning plan and we install that prior to closing.
right.
And then the homeowners can go and change it with the HOA's approval, but that's at least they close and it's done.
Right, so it's sort of, that's the minimum we see is what they'll begin, you can begin with that as a minimum.
Correct.
And then you can kind of make it your own. So I think that the specific units, I think you heard the comments last time, which I had sort of intended to be kind of global comments, but I guess they got construed as just being kind of piece by piece. But those feel like they've evolved pretty well, and I think, you're in a good place there. But I think you could use more, just more, like with the rocks. There's always 2 rocks, it just feels too consistent, right? Which I think is, again, that's different than, I would bring more of that type of fluidity to the landscape. And then with Gene Autry, we need to be really
specific with the landscape that's to remain. Because I don't know that you have to replace, there are some established shrubs against the fence that are setting a tone that would be nice to repeat. So it's almost like walking that and saying, you know, those are good, those need to go. Like the rosemary, the grasses, I agree, all that stuff needs to go. The bougainvilleas, I think there's Vitex out there.
Vitex, yes.
The Vitex is awesome and it seems to be doing really well. So more, I mean, that's just a cool plant. The Carissa, Little Ollies, Caliandra, Pyracantha. There's some cool old junipers out there that are barely hanging on, but bringing some of that back would be kind of nice to see. More density. And then along Gene Autry, all of the trees are hugging the fence. Is there a reason we're not trying to shade the sidewalk? Is that?
Part of that from the initial design is it, Caltrans has a certain setback from.
Because I noticed the palm trees are going out into, they're crossing the sidewalk.
Yeah,
getting
and
close.
again, I think, well, it was, that design or installation was done before Gene Autry was actually a Caltrans designated. Palm Canyon used to be Highway 111, then they moved it to Gene Autry. So I think any way we get closer to that curb, we would, I mean, it opens up a Pandora for encroachment and.
Yeah, that's too bad because.
No, I understand.
That would
To
really
get some
help.
movement back and forth on
Yeah.
both sides of the sidewalk. I mean, we can look into it, certainly.
Please do, because I think
Yeah.
that would really
Yeah,
help.
so when you're walking down, you feel like you're going through a shaded walkway.
Yeah, even just arriving that way into the city and leaving the city that way, it would feel more like a boulevard,
Correct.
which would be great.
Yeah. No, I agree.
It's not a very pleasant walkway.
Uh-uh.
Like, it's okay to look at, but like, we've walked it probably 10 times. Tom's probably done it 10 times with the HOA. Like, the cars are flying by, the planes are taking off. Like, it's not a nice stroll. Like, you go inside the gates if you want to walk.
Yeah, yeah. And it's just brutally harsh and glary and everything out
And
there.
you throw the
So,
wind into that scenario.
yeah, it's brutal, but
Those
a couple of small moves could make it feel a
units
lot
along there
nicer.
need a 15-foot ficus hedge.
All right, so I think
Right.
I'm gonna move restudy of this item. Second. Okay. Based on the criteria that Planner Malacher had identified and Member Elliott, I don't know if you captured those.
I did. So we have open space, more discipline, less variety of species, greater density, unify the commons, the common space, fluidity to landscape on the hardscape,
Rocks specifically.
rocks.
Yeah.
Clarification, less rocks, more rocks?
More.
If we're gonna do rocks, do rocks.
Yes.
The other ones,
Yeah,
Massive.
one rock here and one rock there, just.
And then we have field study existing plants along Geometry Trail and add possible shade trees or explore. Having
I think it just.
To shade
movement
the
and
sidewalk,
Shifting
yeah.
the trees.
Yeah.
okay.
Just having a little bit of a zigzag along there would give it more dimension.
All right, that's what I have.
All right. So we have a motion, we have a second based on those points. You can share them with the applicant. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote.
All right, Chair O'Donnell,
Yes.
Vice Chair Walsh. Member Elliott. Member Castro.
Yes.
Alternate Dillon.
Yes.
All right, unanimously passes.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
all. Thank you all for the help.
Thank you.
Thank you. Too.
All right, we've got a couple more items here. No heavy lifting, but architectural committee reports, past comments. Did LCPs today say they weren't showing up or did it just happen this way?
Jackie and Dan had let us know that they were not gonna be coming in.
Okay. And member Bastian?
She said that she would come in tonight.
Okay. All right. So committee reports requests, I think this is working out. This is probably the longest meeting we've had, so sorry, guys. It just worked out that way. Planning director's report.
I would mention, I think information has gone out, but plans are afoot for the holiday party to be held at the Planning Commission Chair's house. The date for that, I believe, is December the 11th in the evening. So if you've not received an invite or information on that, please let me or Ken know, and we'll make sure that.
And that's in
information gets to you.
Encina.
Correct, it is in Encina. So it's a great opportunity for everyone to go, see the variety of the landscape and all of that.
Can we add more to the motion now?
All right, adjournment at exactly 9 PM.
Oh my God, it is?
Yes.
Yes.
On the button.
Oh,
Thank you.
all right. Okay.
Well, thanks everybody for hanging